All right, welcome everybody. I call this meeting to order at 6:12. Come out of closed session, nothing to report, and if you'd all join me for the pledge.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, welcome. We are going to start off with Tell Me Something Good. And we got introductions. Yeah, tell me something good. Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to the principals, and then Lily's going to pass out some certificates.
Sure. First, we would just like to introduce Ms. Jeanette Mogensen. She is our new resource teacher at Toro Park Elementary. She's been doing a fantastic job. She joined us a little after the start of the school year, and that's always a difficult thing, transitioning mid-year into a position. But she's been doing a great job getting to know the students and the staff, and really just kind of jumped right in, and the students and teachers are loving the support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, I get the privilege to introduce our spelling bee participants and our winners at San Venancio Middle School. So hopefully everybody's here. I'm going to go through our participants first, and I'll give you our top three placers at the end. So first up, Arjuna McGinnis. Arjuna here. If you're here, come and get your certificate. No Arjuna. Okay. Anthony Ramirez. No Anthony. Jacob Massey. Oh, he's sick? Okay. Lucy Lona. Then you can go this way with it. I know it's kind of weird.
Oh,
That's okay. Okay, if I call your name up, you can start by shaking Miss Gordon. Okay, Caitlin Ray. Caitlin? Jasmine Chang. No, she got softball. No. Eli Banks. Okay, well, those are all of our participants. And then these are our placing students. Okay, they're also participants, but these are our placements. In third place, we have Evelyn Yu. Second place, we have Maylene Lamb. Well, I see our first place winner. Our first place winner, and who's moving on to the County B, is Braden Schwartz. He looks familiar. He was here last year too, collecting. Yeah. So he will be back again. He gets another opportunity in the County B.
Great. I have the privilege of announcing our science fair participants and winners. So boys and girls, if you hear your name come up, I will give you your certificate, and then you will shake everyone's hand, so it's kind of in a nice little U shape. So the first winner is our TK student, Kara Anderson, and hers was capillary action. Is Kara here tonight? All right, next we have Sophie Brunesti. Is she here tonight?
What did Sophie do?
Sophie did My Chocolate Love. All right. Our TK second place is Tolino Dabrowski with Vinegar vs. Ice.
Good job. Congratulations.
Go on, Lefty.
Next, we have Allison Holder making fresh water from salty water.
Congratulations. Did you use ocean water or did you make your own salt water?
All right, next we have, I don't think she could make it tonight, but Mira Ramnathar, and she did Think Before You Drink. So congratulations to Mira. All right. Next we have Leah Keller Selter, and she did Chemicals and Crystals. Is Leah here tonight? No. All right. Next we have Juniper Sprinkles, who did Pulse Up Youth.
Congratulations.
All right. Next we have Elizabeth Weibel, who did Bird Time. Okay.
I'll take it for her though later.
Okay. All right. Next we have our overall winner in second grade, who was Isabella Ziegler.
What did she do again?
Yeah.
She did Kisses and Licks.
That's funny.
That's a true thing.
Okay. Next we have Jack Chang, and he did Mentos and Soda. Next we have Madeline Felt, and she did. Madeline. Next we have Devontae Hobbs, and he did Y30.
Good job, Devontae.
Next we have Faye Murphy. I don't think she's here tonight, but she did Bubbles. Faye. Next we have Leo Rodriguez, and he did Screen Off. Next we have Sophia Ziegler, and she did Natural Water Filtering. All right. Next we have Jasmine Chang and Margaret Azevedo, who did Salty Egg. Right. Next one we have Caden Foster and Jackson Williams, who did Which Brand of Bubble Gum? Next we have, let's see here, Jacob Massey and Landon O'Connell, who got the Food Science Award, and it is MGS. All right, parents, so you can come on up and get your student certificate. And last, oh, and Dagny. Is Dagny here this evening? All right, Dagny did mixed cultures. Let's give her a round of applause. Our last award is actually going to go to an adult, and that is going to go to Miss Kaiser. Is she here this evening, Miss Kaiser? Everyone so we can see you. Miss Kaiser did a wonderful kindness challenge week last week, and so we just wanted to thank you. And so you're getting our kindness champion award for all of your hard work. So,
Thanks for leading the charge on that.
All right, we have one more thing for you. We opened our new transitional kindergarten playground at Toro Park, and so we made a little video to show you. Try again. Oh, there you go. We made it in two parts, you know. We wanted to build suspense for you. There we go.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
How long has it been open for now?
It's been open. When did we do that?
Week.
Yeah, it's been about a week. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's move on to organizational updates. All of you guys who are our award winners, thank you for coming. If you are not willing to stay, we understand. But it's okay. So move on to organizational updates. John?
Yeah. Before I did, yeah, if you would like to go now, go now. Entertaining, but yeah, it's okay. I only have one thing to report is Gerardo and I met with an electrician about an item on the agenda, trying to find a better spot for a EV charger, dedicated transformer for PG&E and brand new switchgear. So it's on the agenda tonight, but anyway, I was helping with that. We'll talk more about that.
I went to San Venancio during the kids' presentation for their science fair, or not science fair ideas, but their science project ideas. I went around and asked questions and whatnot. I attended strategic planning, and then I was not able to attend the ribbon cutting for the new playground, but I did go on my own time, and I actually kind of played around on some of that. Good job. It's pretty cool.
So I went to the strategic planning meeting. Also went to the science fair proposal event that was here, and it was wonderful. Went to the science fair, and then I've been able to visit all 3 schools this week.
I went to strategic planning, and I helped to judge the science fair.
I also went to strategic planning. I did not judge. I attended this science fair. It was very cool. And then I also attended the stargazing event at Washington. A couple of, was it last week? That was last week.
Right.
It was quite lovely to get out there and see all the stars.
I attended the Science Fair Expo and then also attended the Science Fair, which were both fantastic. Kids did a really great job. And just a thank you to Jennifer Lee, thank you to Jennifer Chang for all of her efforts in putting together the Science Fair. I attended a meeting of the Corral DTR Rotary Club to talk to them about our transition to becoming a community-funded district. I attended strategic planning. Gerardo and Joe and I went to Sacramento to hear the governor's budget proposal. We had a meeting with STAR. I went out to the playground for the ribbon cutting. We had our monthly superintendent's advisory meeting, and I attended my monthly superintendent's council meeting. I had a couple meetings at Monterey County Office of Education, one in particular with Dr. Gus and Dr. Turallo. This morning, Gerardo and I attended the County Board of Education monthly board meeting at Monterey County Office of Education to talk to them about our transition to community funding. And I think that's it.
Okay, I presented graduation requirements to the 8th grade class right after the last board meeting. We had our spelling bee, as you saw, the winners and participants. Progress reports went home at San Venancio. I attended the Science Fair Expo, which was amazing. Thanks, Jen and Kelsey and all the San Venancio staff that really did a good job of putting that together. And something to put on your radar, Jen and I and Caitlin, I don't think Caitlin's there anymore, but we met this morning to talk about the College Expo that's going to be coming the Friday before spring break. So if you guys can attend on that, they're going to be looking at college and career readiness in Jen's class in 8th grade and in 7th grade, and they're going to be putting on a College Expo. This morning we talked about bringing 4th and 5th grade over to check out the expo and all
That's
that.
smart. I'm glad.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Just more cool things that we can put on here. I went to the governor's budget presentation in Sacramento. We had our monthly self-care cabinet meeting. I went to strategic plan. I attended the Special Olympics planning meeting for the county, which with our new SDC class, we'll be able to participate or have students that can participate in Special Olympics. So that's going to be in May. So getting some information on that. I met with Carmel to talk about a potential special education partnership with each other for placing students. Either they would place students with us or we would place students with them. So that's kind of a partnership that we've never explored before. And I think it can be beneficial for some of the students that we have placed in, I have some that are placed in East Salinas, so it would be a lot closer to be able to provide a space at Carmel. So we have that partnership that we're working with. We had District Right. I went to the playground ribbon cutting. We attended the Bright Spot ceremony, which maybe we could bring back at the next meeting to discuss our Bright Spot awards that Washington and San Venancio received. And then I just finished the graduation planning meeting tonight at 5 o'clock. We had about 20 parents come in, and I had a few more let me know. So I think we'll have about 30 parents volunteering to put on the graduation activities this year for 8th grade. So looking forward to it.
Joe, I'm sorry. The thing about Carmel, is that an opportunity that's open to us because of basic aid? Like, why now?
I don't think it's necessarily tied directly to basic aid. Basically, it had to do with us having an infant program, not infant's a bad word, a program in its infancy, and them starting a program. So they're looking for help, and we're looking for help. And so I crossed paths with the Carmel director, and he was asking about it, and I said, yeah, absolutely. We'd be open to looking into any partnerships. We struggle with our placements, and I've talked to you about this before. That like a lot of our preschool placements or youngest placements are at Bard Blades Elementary School, which is far away. And so, we transport them by bus if they need it or by whatever transportation method. That's a long way for us, and that's a costly venture. So if we can figure out a way to be able to provide a closer location, not only for cost and for the sake of the family, they know that their kid's close by too. I think it's a good partnership to have.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
We'll see how it goes.
I attended the science fair, the strategic planning committee meeting, facilitated our second technology committee meeting of the year, and we began drafting our AI board policy with parents, student, and staff representatives. So it was a good discussion. We'll wrap that up at our next meeting and have something for you to review. We're wrapping up our E-rate bidding process for district connectivity. We completed an orientation of our 11 green team members, the inaugural green team at Toro Park, and we started our food waste and recycling programs. We're kind of doing a trial this week, and it's going well. We're learning how to sort things into the different containers, but they're doing a great job. And I attended the ribbon cutting at the TK playground.
I'm at Washington. Art club's going well. We just did pinch pots this month. We had a delicious Taco Tuesday. I presented at Superintendent's Coffee this past month on CASP and how to prepare your student on how to take the CASP. I attended the STAR meeting. I attended the science fair, which was very, very cool. I hosted our last school site council. We had a great spirit day / kindness challenge going on at Washington. I've been talking to the OG university for us to get IA trainings, which I'll talk more about in a little while. Lots of summer school prep. I also met with a potential science pilot called Open Ed Science. We also had our stargazing night. Thank you, Adam, for coming. We had about 50 people come, and it was really, really exciting. Thank you to Miss Phelps. I'm not sure if she's still here, but she came up with the idea, and it was just such a fun evening. We also had our own ribbon cutting, 9 Square, which is going really well at our school. I went to the Salinas City Learning Day. Thank you, Gina, for extending the invitation. I learned a lot on curriculum. And then we also went to the Bright Future celebration. Very good.
All right, thank you. And GTA?
I'm trying to convince them of something. We've met with Superintendent Regina and the Executive Board and the negotiators met just to check in on each school. At the end of the month, I'm going to go to training, a safety training, just to discuss language, bargaining language in relation to safety on the 27th. And that's what I'm negotiating with him. I'm trying to get someone to go with me. So,
Thank you. CSEA?
Okay, so I attended our monthly chapter meeting. I attended the RPM, which is always really full of knowledge because it comes from Alameda all the way up in Oakland, all the way down to past Soledad. So I get a lot of information from all the different school districts. That's kind of eye-opening. I attended the superintendent and also our labor relations rep. Also, it came to my attention that I should be at the strategic planning meetings. So I will be there in the future. That was not on my list of things that I should be at, but I will be there in the future. We're working on our budget and our end of the year audit. We just got our bank account, so that's kind of a slow thing. We had one new hire at San Pancho, which is fantastic. Also, thank you to Lily for our OG training. That's really awesome. It looks like every single person signed up for that, so I hope we can take a look at that. I think everybody's super excited for that knowledge. Lastly, just fielding questions from classified people about our future. Maybe we see what's going on. That's about it. Kind of hanging tough, making sure we have all the answers to everybody's questions.
Star?
Yeah, we just did our Valentine's Bagel Day today. It was very successful. Lots of hot pink bagels, so it was a lot of fun. We will be doing our readathon. That will start March 2nd. That is in line with Read Across America, and we will run that for 2 weeks. It's very successful with the kids. They love it, and we do lots of fun things for them. So we will do that. And then we have decided to take the district up on their offer and utilize the gym space. So please mark your calendars for Friday, April 17th. We will be having our 80s versus 90s bash, spring bash, and we hope that you come. Tickets will go on sale the 25th. We expect them to sell out within an hour to 2 hours. So please be ready. Thank you.
Those are good results. Sellouts.
Oh yeah, it's a popular event.
It wasn't that long ago. It would take weeks, months. Great.
Very good. All right, so we're on to community input. We have some comments.
Yes, Justin Estasi speaking on the MOU being proposed.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Justin Estasi. This is a joint thing. That's my friend Megan Lawton there. As many of you know, we did a territory transfer petition. During the process, Megan and I have experienced major backlash from Spreckle staff, parents, and even our own neighbors. We've been portrayed as two selfish parents, and that narrative shaped how many in their district and in our own neighborhood treat us. No family should be labeled or targeted simply for participating in their child's education. What should have been a respectful, civil process became personal and intimidating. Our children are taught to engage respectfully, even when they disagree, and as adults, we should model that behavior. That's why the MOU that MCOE and their lawyers propose matters. It's an opportunity to ensure that our families feel safe participating in our district matters. We urge you to accept the MOU. Thank you for
Okay, Megan, speaking on the MOU. Megan Martin.
Hi, sorry, me again. My name is Megan Lawton, and thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I know you've heard a lot from me. As you know, MCOE developed a proposed MOU between Washington Union and Spreckles Union School Districts, along with Dr. Gutz's recommendation to approve it so our children may continue at Washington Union School District. Justin and I entered this petition process in good faith, believing it was respectful, lawful, and transparent way to advocate for our kids and our neighborhood located within the Toro Park corridor. We did not take this lightly. We spent countless hours meeting with families, gathering signatures, preparing materials, presentation upon presentation, attending hearings, and complying with every request from MCOE. We showed up prepared, respectful, and collaborative, trusting the guidance we were given every step of the way. We did our best to represent Washington Union School District in the best light. Unfortunately, over time, this process became personal. We were publicly labeled, criticized, and even accused of dividing communities. That was never our intention. Our goal has always been to protect our children and seek stability, not to create division. My personal signature was posted online, shared on social media, and distributed by the superintendent to all schools within their district and all parents. What should have been a procedural discussion turned into something unnecessarily damaging in our families and for our sense of safety. Throughout this process, Washington Union representatives and admin, all sitting here, acted professionally and compassionately, always keeping our children's best interests in mind. For that, we thank you all. This situation was created by adults. Our children did nothing wrong. Because of what has occurred, families no longer feel safe returning our children to Spreckles. This is not about convenience. It's about safety, dignity, and protecting kids from adult-driven conflict that is now community-wide. Our children are thriving at Washington Union. They feel supported, they feel accepted, and they feel safe. Removing them now would force them to carry consequences they did not create. We trusted this process. We trusted both districts. And tonight we respectfully ask you to approve the MOU as recommended and allow our children to remain where they are safe, supported, and able to learn without fear. Thank you for your time, your compassion, and considering what this decision truly means to our families. If any of you have any questions for Justin or myself, we would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, Grace Lama speaking on sixth grade structure for next year.
Hi, my name is Grace Lama, and I am the parent of a incoming sixth grader. I heard kind of through the grapevine that you guys are changing the structure of the sixth grade and how they're going to be taught. I heard that there's going to be one homeroom teacher, and instead of having homeroom plus 5 different teachers, that were going to be teaching their own specialty. So I'm concerned about that because I know that teachers that teach their specialties, they have, they teach with their own nuances and their, like Mr. Hogan, he travels the world and then he comes back and he teaches about history, and they all just have a little bit more passion. Anyway, sorry, I wrote this like 10 minutes before I came. I propose that if you do have to cut teachers, that you have at least 2 teachers that teach 2 to 3 classes each instead of just one. And they can be like one teacher does math and science, and one teacher does English language arts, and social studies. I think we're doing a disservice to the students by watering down their education. And the benefits of departmentalizing go beyond their curriculum. They teach kids to learn from different personalities and different teaching styles. And the act of moving from classroom to classroom gives them a break and a little opportunity to see their friends in the hallway. I think this will be a huge burden on each individual teacher, having to prep for 6 different classes each night and being an expert in each class. And just to finalize, a few of our friends have they've come to me and they've said, you know, if this happens, we want to transfer schools, and I would hate for that to happen. My husband's been here since Mr. Dew was a teacher, and we've been with the district for a very long time, and we don't want to leave, but we also don't want a watered down education. And
Okay, Andrea Massey speaking on 6th grade single subject instruction.
Okay, so just to preface, I did have a nice conversation with Joe, and so he's aware of my feelings about this, about the passion of keeping the single subject certified instructors as they are now. My son is currently in 6th grade, and he is having a phenomenal experience. I mean, he has a great science teacher. He has a great math teacher. He has great teachers that are passionate about what they're doing. And so since I've seen that and I've experienced that, I would 100% want that for any of the students coming in, including my daughter in 4th grade. So after the conversation with Joe, and I know, Joe, we talked about that there would be a core where there would be 2 separate classes. So that is something that's on the table. So that is something to think about there. But I do think there is so much to be said about the students going through the process of going to the different classes and having that independent kind of life experience before they start going into the middle school classes. So I'm going to read you a letter. We have 65 families that have signed this petition asking that we continue through what you've started, Joe, because I think what you're doing here is amazing. It's different than what our other schools are doing. And I think that we need to keep on with that. So I'll just read the letter to you. So WSD District Leadership and Board. This is from concerned parents and guardians of future 6th grade students. We, the undersigned parents and guardians of future 6th grade students, respectfully request that our district continue providing instruction for 6th grade students by single subject certified teachers, rather than transitioning exclusively to multi-subject self-contained teaching model. We believe that instruction by single subject certified teachers best supports the academic, social, and developmental needs for 6th grade students as they bridge the transition from elementary to middle school. Educational benefits of single subject certified instructors include deeper content expertise, improved student preparation for middle school, higher instructional qualities, stronger student engagement, better academic outcomes. This is a big one. Research and experience show that subject specialized instructions supporting stronger achievement, particularly in core areas such as math, science, and language arts, leads to higher improvement. Development of organizational and executive skills. Rotating classes and teachers help students build responsibility, time management, and organizational skills critical for long-term success, as well as alignment with middle school standards and practices. Our request is that we maintain the option of the single subject certified instruction for 6th grade teachers, and please consider parents' input as a meaningful factor in decisions that directly impact students' learning and readiness. Our goal is to support an instructional model that best serves students academically while honoring their developmental stage and future educational success. Thank you. Okay, I'll just give this to you so you have the copies of all this. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, Andrew Hogan, SPMS model.
Okay, so this was a letter that was sent to the entire board yesterday. Dear Washington Union School District Board members, we would like to express our excitement for a model for San Venancio Middle School in which all 3 grades are taught by single subject teachers. Traditionally, the 6th grade classes were taught by teachers with multiple subject credentials, while the 7th and 8th grade had at least 2 teachers per subject with single subject credentials. In the shift to Common Core standards, it seems to have benefited our students to have 6th grade taught by teachers with single subject credentials. 7th and 8th grade teachers are teaching 6th grade knowing exactly how the curriculum will affect them in that field. Science classes for all 3 grades use our beautiful science facilities. All teachers collaborate together so that all 3 grade levels are more aligned and can participate in programs together, like the Science Proposal Expo. In addition to all the benefits of staying with this model, there are clear drawbacks to reverting to the old model. Only 1 teacher per subject means no collaboration, no mentoring, no continuation of knowledge when one person leaves, no sharing the duties with subject-specific activities and field trips. We understand that there are a lot of unknowns, but we would like a commitment to the departmentalized model to be made now, as we believe it is what is best for student learning. None of the unknowns would change that. If there is still a potential to go back to multiple subject teachers in 6th grade, we would like the district to engage a committee with teachers and parents to explore the benefits and drawbacks of each model as soon as possible. Please feel free to reach out to any of us for more information. Unanimously approved by the San Venancio staff and signed by Jennifer Frazier, Julie Mills, Sherry Gill, Allie Barrett, Lucy Cheshire, Kelsey Leone, Andrew Hogan, Jana Hamilton, Kenny Reich, and Philip Snell, and approved by Christina Ziegler.
Brooke Haskins on 6th grade format change.
Good evening, board. My name is Brooke Haskins. I have 3 kids in the district, an 8th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader. And I too, when I got wind of potential change in the format of our 6th graders, was concerned. Spoke to both teachers, parents, teachers at other schools about that change. I think it would be really detrimental to move away from the single subject teachers for our 6th graders, and I think would really benefit them if we maintain what we have. So having a teacher who focuses on one subject raises the bar academically. The students benefit from having an educator with a deeper understanding of that course material and can not only offer a more comprehensive learning experience, but I also think that's a teacher that's really positioned to help the child that's struggling in that area as well, and finding ways to kind of make it connect with that student. Just with my 2 oldest kids who are currently at San Venancio, I have seen the benefit of a multi-class single subject teacher. A lot of it is social, as some of the other parents referenced. When they made that transition, it kept them on their toes. There was sort of less downtime. You know, they had to move from class to class. They had to just, the teachers were ready to go. I think also just the different personalities and teaching styles that they encounter was very helpful. Some of the teachers right away, oh, I love this teacher. Some were harder. You know, it was like, oh, they've got it out for me. No, they don't. But just negotiating that was such an opportunity for learning and growth for my preteens and teens. I think also just that transitionary importance, you know, the way we lead our 6th graders right now, where they're in a cohort, but they're moving around, they're getting that single subject teacher instruction, and then moving then in 7th grade to kind of having their independent schedule really prepares them. I would be very concerned that our kids wouldn't be as prepared when they then jump to 7th grade for the single subject instruction and moving from class to class if we didn't have that sort of transitionary year as they enter San Venancio. And just kind of in closing, you know, we all are aware, like our district has had a tough year, and the decisions you guys make and that we've had to weigh in on are not decisions we want to make. And I know there's kind of more changes and decisions to come as a result of this. We don't know what's going on with enrollment, all that. But ultimately, I want to see us do more than just survive or just continue to exist, right? I want to see our schools be a place that offers that highest education and for our teachers to feel like they are working in a community where we're really prioritizing their role in that education. Thank you. I hope we maintain.
Okay, lastly, Jennifer Frazier on sixth grade or middle school staffing.
Okay, so I just wanted to explain how my personal experiences have shaped my opinion on the middle school model. I feel that my experiences give me a very comprehensive and fairly unbiased view about this subject because I have both multiple subject and single subject credentials. I've been here a long time, so I'm not advocating for my job. I don't actually have a child of my own who is going to experience the change. So really, I am just speaking from my experiences, what I think is going to be best for our students. And I am not concerned that any of our multiple subject credential teachers couldn't teach the material. I think we have very talented teachers in this district. But if we are wanting it to be taught like a single subject model with teachers specializing in different subjects, then I think having a teacher with that credential who wants to teach that way to middle school age students is really the way to go. And I know that in my experience, teaching different grade levels made me a better teacher for all of the students. So teaching 8th grade math made me better at teaching 7th grade math because I knew where it was going. Teaching 7th grade writing, I think, made me a better history teacher in 6th grade because I knew exactly how to scaffold the material to get them where I wanted them to be, which worked out since now I have them in 8th grade writing. So I really prepared them for that, which is nice. Yeah, I think multiple subject is fine, but I think that the improvements, the things that have happened because we've had single subject have just been really exciting, and I would like to continue with that. When the 6th grade teachers and the 6th grade circle cohort was separate, it was just really hard to collaborate with them because they were pulled in so many different directions. They were pulled with K-5 or with the class because there would always be at least one class that they share. It was just really, we couldn't ever kind of meet together, but since we've been multiple or single subject, everyone's just kind of meeting together and we're looking at it as more of a whole school environment than 6th grade off by itself and 7th and 8th grade doing our things. So it's been really nice to be able to do things like plan the expo or just kind of including everybody more, which I think has been really beneficial for the kids. And just on a personal subject, it is really hard when a teacher leaves and there's no one to be sort of like the lead on that subject anymore. And I'm very concerned about going down to having that sort of precariousness all the time. So again, I would just like to commit to a departmentalized model because I've seen the improvements and I'm excited about it.
All right, we're moving on to correspondence.
Yeah, so we got 2 letters. The first, which you have all received, I sent to you, is a letter from Dr. Gus outlining the reasons for which she believes she would like you to support the MOU for the petitioners' families. So we received that, and I did give each of you a copy of that. And then we also received a copy of our review of our first interim report from the Monterey County Office of Education with an approval.
Discussion items, Nolan?
736 students.
Thank you. And we're on to the report on district curriculum activities.
So yesterday, February 10th, the Washington Union School District teachers had the option to participate in another MCOE science lesson. So I hope you were able to come and watch that. Our Washington Union School District students just completed District Right number 2, and they are currently being graded. Today was a collaboration day that was dedicated to grading those District Rights. And
as I mentioned earlier, I'm currently working with the Institute of Multisensory Education to bring the instructional aid course that Allie had talked about. They just came out last month with an actual course specifically for our instructional aids. It's going to be an 18-hour course broken up over 3 days. What I did was I blasted out to every aide. It's completely optional, and every single aide wants to do it. So Allie, I hear you. I'm going to try and find as many PDs as possible for you guys. So that was it was great as a curriculum director to see that they want more PD. And so I actually am working with IMSC to actually bring a specific course to Washington Union School District. What's tough about IMSC is it's all Eastern time. So they're actually going to do one for us that's going to be Pacific time. So that's coming in May.
And then the LCAP mid-year monitoring.
Okay, so I was really getting into the LCAP to the point that I have 50 slides. I narrowed it down to 14. So I was just, you're welcome. Okay, so this is my first time doing the LCAP, and so this is the mid-year update. So if you have questions, I will do my best to go through it. So the LCAP, here. This is monitoring our goals. So the LCAP is a 4-year plan. So we're on year 2 in the middle of the year. So next year, when I have the end of year data, it'll be like our entire LCAP all in one. But right now, we're just doing the updates that we have so far. So goal number 1 is going to be, I'm going to read it to you. Our goal is, we have 2 goals. First one is increase academic performance and close the achievement gap among all student subgroups by implementing targeted interventions, providing equitable access to resources, and fostering a culture of high expectations and support. So this is our goal. These are our metrics. Now, like I said, I have 50 slides. So what I did was I just picked and chose the most important metrics in my opinion. And so if you have questions, please let me know. So metric number 1 that we're using to measure our LCAP goals is going to be our past performance trends. And so overall, this top one is our ELA, and we have our math. And so right now, our ELA scores improved from 30.5 to 36.2. So those are the points above the mean or exceed. And our math scores nearly doubled from 6.8 to 16.7. So as of now, we are on target for the end of this year to meet ELA at 30.5 and math at 6.8 with significantly improved subgroup performances. Our next metric, so again, I kind of pick and chose the ones that I thought were most important, are parent engagement and satisfaction. So we give out our surveys every year in March. And so this past year, it was pretty low as far as the engagement we got on those surveys. So what I did was during our school site council, we talked about ways to increase parent engagement so we can get back to that target of achieving 70% participation. So one of it was an in and out party, but who knows? Who knows if we'll get that, but that's what we were talking about. Metric 1.8 is our English learner reclassification rate. So in the 2023-24 school year, we had 80% students reclassified. So that means out of all of our English language learners, 80% of them were able to receive a 4 on the LPAC. This past year, we only got 13% to reclassify. It was those 3 students that got the award a few months back. But just know I am on this. We had a PD on ELD, and we also have a teacher who's going to be GLAD trained. And so what I did was I looked at all of our data. Next year, we're going to have quite a few students entering the 5th grade who will be English learners. So we have a 5th grade teacher who's going to be GLAD trained so that she can target those students. So I'm hoping that this percentage next year will be higher. Metric 1.12 is just our student outcomes in core subjects. So I just we already went over our multiple measures last time, and I went in depth at the strategic plan meeting, but just so you know, those are our data points right now. And so our desired outcome at the end of the LCAP cycle is 70% of students meeting or exceeding standard. And so I did, as I said, I went really in depth here, but I did notice our math at San Mancho. What we did have is I sent teachers to NCOE for a math training. And so we already have our rosters uploaded to the CAS website so they can start working with their students to kind of get them acclimated with the CAS website for the time when they take the math test. All right, so our actions, just to kind of sum it all up, because there's 36 different metrics, but
For comprehensive instructional support, we are utilizing tools like IXL, vocabulary. We're using the Orton Gillingham Integrity in TK, and our hands-on and science exploration, we're using mystery science to bump up our science scores, and then our high dosage tutoring that's happening in 5th grade and a few grade levels at Toro Park. So overall, we have academic growth that's going well. I feel like we're on target there. For our EL support, we are getting the GLAD training done. And then for family partnership, we're working on that to try and increase participation in those March surveys from parents. And then also just to include that we are on track to meet teacher credentialing because we have 100% of our teachers in an induction program if they're not yet cleared. All right, goal number 2. Let me go ahead and move this. And again, please feel free to ask questions. So goal number 2, foster a positive and inclusive school climate that promotes a sense of belonging, safety, and mutual respect among students, staff, and families to support academic success and social emotional well-being. So that's our goal for LCAP. And here's our metrics that we're using. So counseling data, parent survey data, student survey data, which as a principal, I really appreciate when I can look through that data. And again, these are all going out in March. But I'm going to use last year's just to reflect on it. So student perceptions of safety at Toro Park, Washington Union, and San Bernardino. So maintaining and improving student safety is a district-wide priority. And so what I did was I just pulled the percentage rates from students saying that they felt safe. For parent satisfaction, the academic quality and respect, I went ahead and just pulled, we had in 2023 and 24, we had 11% parent dissatisfaction with the math program quality. We also had a 13% parent dissatisfaction regarding student-to-student respect. I'm happy to report that this past year, we only had one area that had parent dissatisfaction, and that was on the student respect piece. So what I'm going to do is in a couple slides, I'll talk about how we're using our actions to try and meet that dissatisfaction and improve it. The last one is just fostering a culture of respect. So this was just a staff survey, and so I just put our different questionnaires that went out to the staff. So in 2023-24, a staff survey went out that I work with people who treat me with respect. San Bernardino, Washington, Villa Park. This was 2 years ago. On the next area, you'll see this one last year. So I'm happy to report that we're moving in a positive direction there too. All right, so for our actions, a lot of the school safety is surrounding our counselor who's doing a great job. And so we have Miss Caitlin, and so we have the targeted support. We're also addressing chronic absenteeism. Some students are meeting with the counselor, and then just the financial overview. So for funds budgeted, we had $96,382.63, and so far we've spent $41,286.15 on counseling services. And so our overall progress for making sure that we're feeling safe, so we're meeting that goal too in the LCAP. At Toro Park, they're using the Komochi and Kelso's rules. We also have a bully prevention specialist at San Bernardino, and then we also have that Ohana support specialist as well that's working. So as of now, I'm happy to report that we are on target to meet our goals for the LCAP.
Thank you for making that entertaining.
I could have more slides for you, John.
Thank you. You hear the report on governor's budget proposal for 26-27.
So, like I said, Gerardo, Joe, and I went to Sacramento a couple weeks ago and listened to a presentation on the governor's proposed 26-27 K-12 education budget. It was about a 3-hour conversation with School Services of California, a really wide-ranging discussion of his budget decisions as he heads into this budget year. So they kind of start the day with some overall themes. And so one of the themes that they started with is this is his last budget. He's leaving office. He's probably going to make a run for president. So his political moves are just that. They're centered around a potential run. But he's got some stuff in the budget that he has prioritized. So he is sort of looking back on what he's created as a governor and what he leaves behind. One of the biggest concerns is what he's going to leave behind are mounting deficits. It looks like this year we may end up okay, but 27, 28, it is looking like some pretty large deficits are looming. So looking at big picture, the U.S. GDP is over 4%. Equities are at an all-time high. Inflation is slowing. Consumer confidence is up. There still are economic uncertainties, but the stock market gains are being driven by technology. No shock there. But with federal policy related to immigration and foreign trade, there's still some uncertainty. He has balanced in the 26-27 fiscal year, but there's a projection that there will be a $22 billion deficit in 27-28 with additional shortfalls. So his state revenue projections right now assume no economic recession or a stock market downturn. So we'll see how that opens. So this is just looking at the tax picture, the big three taxes, personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax, and how that plays into the budget. His enacted budget, and then his proposed budget and his enacted budget. And so the projections differ slightly. In the 26-27 year, there's about a $19 billion difference in what he's got and what's being projected. So there's just some differences there. You can look at how the tax rates play out and factor in to what the budget will be.
When you say difference, you mean he has $19 million in spending more than his legislature is proposing?
Correct. And then this is the difference in the governor's budget and then the legislative analyst's office. Again, some slightly different projections. And you can see that. The blue bar is general funds, yellow bar is local property taxes. Okay, education priorities are sort of a status quo. He's about 70% of new spending is proposed for core education, key enrichment programs, as have been. About 1/3 of the available funding is going to be used to replenish his rainy day fund. And then he's also drawing off of what he did last year, and he's proposing a settle up. And I'm going to have Gerardo help because the settle up is kind of a deferral program. So Prop 98 may not be fully funded this year, which is Prop 98 is the minimum guarantee for education. And what he's proposing is to borrow against it to pay some other bills statewide, so that education may not get quite as much. Okay. Am I getting that, Gerardo?
Sounds terrible.
So those are some risks. There's risks to Prop 98 through that settle up program. In our state, much of the state is in declining enrollment. A lot of districts are deficit spending, and he's borrowing against Prop 98. And so that is just going to add to ongoing deficits in the years out. So there's some worry projected. He's going to really try his best to bring things together as he leaves office, to keep us in tune. But after he leaves, it may fall apart a little bit. So the next governor may walk into a bit of a mess and some challenges. So this is the settle up program that I was talking about. So historically, when the state has not appropriated its full guarantee, it has suspended Prop 98, which allows lawmakers to appropriate less than the minimum guarantee. It's only happened 3 times, in 2004-05, in 10-11, and in 23-24. In 23-24, it was suspended as part of the 24-25 enacted budget. And so this is just a little bit, it's a little bit difficult to understand, but this is an explanation. What creates this? Here's the questions. Here's what the settle up is going to do. And then there's the maintenance factor. So what creates the obligation when revised funding level is more than previously appropriated? And the maintenance factor is when the state suspends Prop 98. Is it adjusted for inflation? No, it is not. And each year the balance is adjusted for COLAs and change in the overall ADA in the state. The Director of Finance determines a payment schedule, but the Constitution requires payments when general fund revenues are outpacing personal income. So that's just a monitoring, and it gets paid when when the state is in a position to pay it. The state determines the payment amounts, but what they're talking about now is in this year's proposed settle up. The Legislative Analyst Office is thinking that it may not be constitutional. So it'll probably go to court, and they'll argue about it for the next several months and settle on it when we get closer to July. So the budget will trigger a reserve cap in certain situations, which puts limits on districts and what they can hold in reserve. As a small school district, we are exempt from the reserve cap, so we don't have to worry about any of this. We have no reserve cap. And then this is LCFF funding factors for 26-27. So you see there the base grant for each of the grade spans. They're projecting a 2.41% COLA. So the adjusted base grant is down below that. There's a grade span adjustment. So there's a TK through 3 grade span adjustment, and a 9-12 is the high school adjustment. Supplemental grant, as we've talked about before, is 20% additional above the base grant. And then if you're eligible to receive concentration grant funding, that's 65% above the base grant. We do not qualify for concentration grant funding. We get a small amount of supplemental funding. We do get the TK add-on for now because we are still a local control funded district. So we will continue to receive this while we're in our 3-year averaging as we phase out. So this is what our picture looks like. So our per ADA funding for 26-27 is projected to be about $12,000 per student, with an ADA projected to be $582, and total LCFF revenue of $8.5 million.
And of the 12, we're probably 3/4 funded by our own property taxes right now.
About 80% now.
We're the least amount funded through that state model.
We still remain the lowest funded district in the county. And that goes back to the blue and red lines that we've talked about.
Yep.
Our property taxes right now, as we get closer and closer to that community funded threshold, our property taxes make up about 80% of that. This is just his proposal for the different areas: career pathways, TK professional development, attendance, enrollment declines, and how he's going to manage all that. There will be some discretionary funding that will be available. Right now it's proposed to be about $500 per ADA. So we'll get some additional monies that we'll be able to utilize. And like I said, it's discretionary, so it will be pretty broad in how we can use it. So we'll determine what we'll be able to do as we start to receive that money.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If he's saying that he's going to take from the designated education funds, and which lowers our base grant, and at the same time say, oh, but I'm going to give you 500 over here.
No.
How does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It doesn't. But it's
then, as long as you're seeing it, that's how I see it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're going to underfund on the big
on the over, and like, by the way, I'll kick you 500 bucks.
One time.
Bro.
It's for him to be able to balance his budget.
Yeah.
And walk out of office saying he had a balanced budget.
Got it. And then, so when I read language in there that said that they're projecting to have a balanced budget, right? And there's some discrepancies on how much he wants to spend. But and is that for the overall budget?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Deneen Gus said he was at a $78 billion deficit a month ago. So in 1 month, we've wiped out almost $80 billion in debt.
I don't presume to understand what happens between the governor's office,
I'm just trying to go follow
office and school services and FICMAT. It's ongoing in Sacramento. And
so, yeah, if you read between the lines, the taking of the Prop 98 funds is fixed into $78 billion.
Yeah. It's a shell game right now with his budget. He's moving money around to figure it all out.
Sorry, Jan, didn't mean to interrupt.
This is just what we call our dartboard to help Gerardo make his financial projections. The biggest thing to sort of pay attention to, you've got your restricted lottery, you've got your STRS and PERS employer rates. So CalSTRS, the employer rate stays pretty steady at about 19%. CalPERS bounces around a little bit. It's going to jump up to 26.9% and then fall off a little bit in the outgoing years. And then minimum wage continues to go up. And then just kind of projections as we move through the year. In late January, there was a Senate overview hearing. So they'll start planning for the May revision. They're already planning for May revision now. In early June, they'll start their budget hearings. As you know, by the end of June, he has to have an approved budget by July 1. So that's just kind of the picture of how things are going to go and how we're going to progress through the year. Any questions there?
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
All right.
To community funding update.
Community funding update. So, as we've said, we're going to keep this on the agenda. We'll do a monthly update. So in the last month, since the decision in December, we have started sending out letters to families. They're our annual Are You Returning letters. And so those were categorized based on families' status in the district. And what I mean by status is in-district families, inter-district families, and inter-district families whose inter-district transfers are expiring at the end of the year. So we developed all of those letters and communications. We got those out. So as they're starting to come back in now, we're starting to monitor enrollment to make sure that we're tracking our enrollment appropriately for staffing purposes. And you'll see the layoff resolution in tonight's agenda, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We also met today. Gerardo and I went to a meeting of the County Board of Education, and my purpose there was really to, after going through the territory transfer and having communication with the county board at that time in what was a really difficult situation and which turned into something that it didn't start as. And it was a really trying time. And it was a really difficult process that personally I don't feel needed to be as difficult. But it was a really tough scenario. So as we start transitioning into our community funded model and start looking at how we're going to phase out and move toward our eventual threshold, I thought that it was really important that the county board understand what we're doing, where we're going, and what that purpose is. Because as interdistrict families come to us, apply for interdistricts, if those interdistricts are denied, families do have rights, and they have the right to appeal our decision. Those appeals could ultimately end up at the County Board of Education. So I wanted them to understand where we are and what the implications of that are, so that as we, they understand why we did what we did, the financial implications to our district, and the importance of continuing to transition towards that ultimate threshold. So we met with them today. I think it went pretty well. We were received positively. They had a lot of questions, but it opened the dialogue. So hopefully that will continue to be a positive thing. Next week, I'm having my monthly superintendent's coffee, and I'm working with Caitlin Kaiser and Hannah Garibay, our student support specialist, to start talking to parents about how they can support their kids, either if they're, saying goodbye to a friend at the end of the school year, if their student is leaving the district at the end of the school year, what we can do to support them as a community. I've also invited Eric Turallo from Spreckles. I've invited PK Diffenbach from Monterey Peninsula Unified, and I've invited Rebecca Andrade from Salina City, all three superintendents who will be joining us to talk about their districts and introduce themselves to parents who may have questions about those respective districts. At the same time, we've been meeting with Caitlin, and she's going to start meeting with students and doing student groups at each of the campuses to help students who have questions, who might be struggling, who are not looking forward to the end of the school year, and providing communication and support and strategies for them. We've met with STAR so that we had a conversation about how STAR can support us and how we can all work together as we enter into this transition, and how we can work together on funding requests and what we can do to continue to support the district, to continue to encourage parents to participate in activities, and really work for the good of the district through, obviously some trying times. And then also just working with Joe as he continues to try and develop a master schedule. And certainly we've heard some input tonight. And so I'm going to turn it over to Joe so he can kind of go through some of those considerations and talk about that a little bit.
Okay. I wasn't necessarily planning on presenting this to you guys tonight in public session, but I think we should, just to address any concerns that are out there. So the first thing I want to address is the 6th grade issue that's come down here. Got it. Okay, so it would be more of a core model. It does not look like 5th grade. I think that was brought up, where it looks like a kindergarten through 5th grade schedule here. It would be a core model where they alternate teachers, right? So you have teacher A and teacher B in this case. And those of you that have been around San Bernardino, this is our older model with less teachers, okay? So, Megan, you were a student here, I was a student here. We all remember who we had: Miss Andico, Miss Reineke, Miss Freeman, right? All Miss Peacock, the old timers that we loved. And this is what this is. It's a core model. So I just want to make sure everybody understands and knows that it's a core model like we ran before with less teachers, okay? So that's what that would look like. These are interchangeable, right? This is the mock schedule. Teacher A, has, in this case, history and grammar, and teacher B has math and science. You can switch those up in a core model. These are multi-subject positions, okay? Core model must be multi-subject. So these would be multi-subject taught classes with the 2 teachers, okay? But the content is interchangeable. Teacher A and teacher B can teach science and history and whatever, okay? Here's the schedule for 7th and 8th grade, and I'm going to be as objective as possible. I want to hear everybody out. We haven't made a final determination on what we're doing yet, so I'm just presenting what's currently been opened up. So in this case, we would have 1 year of kind of a revolutionary model, and it would be interesting, right? If you look at this, we're in this change and in this, as we reduce classes and we reduce students and we reduce sections at the middle school, we're going to find ourselves for 1 year being overstaffed somewhere at the end of the phase out or at the beginning of the phase out, either way you spin it. So in order to foster this change and help with other students in the probably the hardest year, which is going to be next year as we phase out, we'll have some co-taught classes. And that's interchangeable. Co-taught can look very different, right? And it depends on how we want to do it as a staff. Is co-taught 30 kids in one classroom with 2 teachers? Or is co-taught, in this case, we have, there's names on this. I wasn't planning on showing it. I hate to put names, but there's names on it. So these are this is next year's teaching staff. Now, hold on. Let me finish what I was saying. The co-taught class could be, is it 30 kids with 2 teachers, or is it 15 kids in Julie Mills's room and 15 kids in Beth Rodriguez's room? I think that would be pretty revolutionary. And that's a class of 30. Our classes won't be 30. They'll be 26, 28. So you're looking at a 1-to-13 ratio for a math class. That'd be really nice for 1 year. Maybe gain some growth back on COVID learning loss, however that we want to kind of work that and spin it. But this is our overstaffed year, okay? The other thing that I want to highlight in the schedule is Jen Frazier. Her name's on it. I'm just going to call it out for what it is. She's a fantastic intervention teacher, and she's found a niche, and she's whittled down our DNF list to damn near 0. So I think that there's some things to be said here. Maybe that position comes in, and I'm using Jen as the example. Maybe it's somebody else if she doesn't want to do it. But I would love it if she did want to do it. But if there was an intervention teacher that we can support in the years out, but at least in this year we can, give her multiple intervention periods to continue the work that she's doing with our DNF list. So that's this schedule. That would be in the years out. There's a lot of flexibility here in the ways that we can do things, and really small group students for 1 year. In the second year, this one, again, this I think lends itself to a little bit of what we talked about, board members too, is that this might be a year that we start looking at that intervention teacher. And why I say that is because we go from this schedule, which is heavy in intervention, to a kind of a phase out model where there's no intervention, right? Because I need the teachers teaching the classes for this year. Hang on, there'll be another year out, which kind of finalizes their schedule. So this is the year to where we have a large reduction in the San Venancio single subject staff. One thing that if we are going to consider, moving back to what was presented by staff and teachers, if we are going to move to a single subject model, it kind of requires immediate action on the board's part because we'll need to lay off more teachers. Okay, we need to lay off more multiple subjects at that point, right? Obviously, we're keeping more singles. We need to get rid of more multis to balance out our numbers. Okay, so that's something that we need to talk about rather quickly. So in this schedule, we have everything covered here in our classes, but there is no intervention. And then finally, the third year out, which will be fully phased out for the model that we've decided to move out with. This is the San Venancio schedule that would likely follow into perpetuity, where teachers teach 4 classes instead of 5, and they have an intervention course to which we would determine how we're going to run that, in the future. That's open to interpretation. That's 3 years down the road. We can talk about how we're going to run that. Is it pull out? Is it group? Whatever it is. Biggest thing that I thought about with this schedule and doing some research on teacher burnout is a little bit of a less of a course load. I think that's something that I want to highlight, and something that could be a perk for us in the district is it's less of a course load in trying to reduce burnout. I hear everything said on the single subject. And I'm a single subject teacher. I think I can go in there and teach really great too. But I think you guys could too. I'm looking at all of the multis out here. So there's something to be said for who's in the classroom too. I've seen some killer multi-subject teachers that can walk into that schedule and just kill it. And I've seen some single subjects that can too, and you've seen singles that can't, and you've seen multis that can. So it kind of depends on the person that's in there. I think that's a big part of it. But one of the big things is if we change single subject down the road, we're going to have a lot of those split positions. And I think it's good, and I hear what everybody's saying about, single subjects teaching, but what if we can't fill them? When I'm looking for that math science combination.
So that was going to be my question, because I know that we've struggled with that in the past.
Oh yeah.
And because I've been on the board, and we have struggled to fill those positions as single.
Yep.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. There's been multiple years since I've been here that we've started with long-term subs in science one year and in math one year for sure that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. So yeah, I mean, we're working to increase our salary schedule and improve our salary schedule for our change. But yeah, it's still hard to find those split positions. Like Jen is a unicorn with her authorization. There's not a whole lot of people. Andy has a couple authorizations too, and there's multiple teachers that have them. And it might work for us now, but in the future, are we going to be able to find those math science combos? As much as I think we're going to be able to be a little more competitive with our salary schedule as we move to basic aid, are we going to still be, we won't ever be able to compete with Carmel, right? Or something like that. But hopefully we can, compete with Salinas City or high school district maybe. And we'll hope to work for some of those teachers, but they're still hard to find. So we have to think about that too. This was just a little bit of the program impact that this would have. In 26-27, it would require no layoffs. However, I want to address one thing, and I'm going to go back to these slides because it's been brought up at the board level, so I want to clarify this. We are overstaffed. Can we not be? Yes, we cannot. Yes, we can. Sorry. Beth, cover your ears. You're going to be my first example. But in this case, you could lay off the second math teacher position and move these maths up, and then this one can go to Mrs. Frazier or something like that. You could also look at Mr. Funk, the second history teacher, and move his courses around to Miss Frazier picks up a lit, which she can teach. Miss Frazier picks up the second lit, which she can teach. And Mr. Hogan can pick up the 6th period option history. So yes, we can make layoffs here out in this schedule. And if that's something that we want to pursue, we got to do it quickly. March 15th, the deadline, March 15th, Sunday. So we have to be ready by March 13th. So that is an option, just putting everything out on the table.
Well, getting back to multi-credential. So it helps on being able to find people, right, for the future. But does it also give you versatility? Like if people are absent for a while, you can backfill with someone who's got a credential in the same subject. Does it provide you more versatility a multi?
Well, it would just depend on, in that case, if someone's absent for a while, it'd be a long-term sub, which there's more flexibility. Tracy can speak to that on how we can fill a long-term sub position, if that's where you're going with that.
Well, I'm just asking the question. What is multi-credential? Is there any other benefits other than?
There's more of them. That's one thing to think about. When we fill positions, multi-subject positions, we have way more applicants than we do single, way more. So that's something to think about too. There's more of them. In this schedule, with regard to filling positions, a place that we've struggled with, right? And that's one of the biggest things. And I can think about program impacts and, you know, who's better to teach what is a whole other conversation. But again, I go back to if we can't fill the positions, we can't. Who cares? This final schedule on years out makes it pretty easy. Single subject math, single subject science, single subject history, single subject PE, single English, 2 multis. Pretty clean for hiring purposes. You know, I don't know. I don't know if we continue down this road and if we get to a point where we're competitive and we're having 100 applicants for a position and we can fill a math science combo, maybe we look at that down the road. But while we're still 24 out of 24 in the county, I don't know how comfortable I am with those split positions. So no decisions have been made at this point. The last slide I want to put in there for you guys to look at is a little bit of data. And this is 6th grade in particular. This is hard to see. I'll get you guys a copy of this. I know you don't have it.
I'm sorry, Joe. Can you just go back to the slide before? Because I just wanted to see kind of what,
so I'll talk through this one real quick because I didn't. In 26-27, this plan would have no layoffs at San Venancio. It would have co-taught in certain subjects, or like I said, a teacher ratio of 1 to 13 if we split up the classes. 27-28 layoffs would hit San Venancio. And like I said, this year would have fewer students, but no intervention courses. And in a little bit of feedback I've gotten, maybe this is the opportunity to sink a little teeth into that intervention teacher at San Venancio, right? Somebody who is responsible for individual remediation all day for gen ed students. So we have Sherry running the SPED program that SPED gets a great amount of remediation and has aid support, but it's that gen ed that we've kind of always lacked, and Jen's kind of filled that gap. And that's where I want to build on that. So maybe that's a conversation to be had. Nothing, that's a surprise to her. I can put that in your budget.
That would be amazing.
So that's something that we'd have to talk about and figure out what the affordability and sustainability of that kind of position was. And then the last one, Sarah, is the 28-29 settles as kind of our new normal in the district or at San Venancio, with each teacher having four classes, 1 prep and 1 intervention period where they're doing small group, pull out, something like that. In that schedule, the intervention can't necessarily be, what's the best way to describe it? Like our activity period where all the kids are doing something with 1 teacher, because we have it spread out throughout the day. So it kind of has to be pull out of classes. It can't be a structured intervention / advisory period the way that we have it set and built in and baked into the schedule. It would be some remediation throughout. Kind of liken it to what Toro Park used to do with RTI and the half day process was, when teachers in kindergarten were teaching half day, the second half of the day they were responsible for intervention and RTI throughout the other grade levels. So it would be working with those teachers to be able to support students that need it. Or who knows? If we continue, this is 3 years down the road. We don't know. Let's say we do find a way to provide an intervention teacher, then we can provide something else for those teachers in those time slots or offer something else within the master schedule. It's something to talk about with that. And then the last slide there is all just the numbers. And with what we taught, I mean, we think that we've been cored in 6th grade since the 80s or even potentially before that. So this only goes back to CAS, which is 14-15, and how we operated in a core model, and then how we've modified departmentalized. We've never been fully departmentalized in 6th grade, and I would even argue that we're not completely departmentalized based on Mr. Reich, using names. He's a multi-subject teacher. I would argue that we're not completely departmentalized now. So we have a modified departmentalized in 6th grade over the last 4 years. This year, we've leaned a little bit more on the departmentalized than we have the previous 3 years, if that makes sense based on this.
Looks like your ELA numbers are better in core than they are in departmentalized.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this up here, John, because I think there could be a lot of explanations to this. This doesn't necessarily just correlate to a core model, right? We had COVID in there, and like I said, sometimes different teachers come throughout different times, and we see different scores based on who's in those seats. I just wanted to kind of paint a picture of where sixth grade is. It kind of mirrors our eighth grade scores, which have dropped. Seventh grade, especially last year, has remained kind of steady, and last year that class just took off, right? So I'm hoping for some pretty high eighth grade scores this year based on what we saw in last year's seventh grade, especially in ELA, which was the highest CASP achievement score in the whole district was seventh grade ELA. So we'll see kind of what happens there and what occurs in eighth grade, but yeah.
Well, one information though is you have tons of support to help develop the process.
Yeah.
By the letter that was given, I would say that instead of it being us versus them thing with a consensus letter, that you get some individualized input.
Yeah.
Because you're very open to the process.
Yeah. I'm open. We haven't made a decision.
Be a better team, right? Let's don't create any division. Because we got a real opportunity, and I think together we can create an amazing thing. But like if we're going to do layoffs this year for what was presented in the letter, then we have to regroup and then send out notices. Not that that's a doom and gloom thing because it's part of the process. But yeah, I'd say get together and come up with your best plan.
Yeah, no, I think I'm open to hearing whatever. I just wanted to present what we currently have and what we base the layoffs on.
We got to see both sides, which is it's an interesting thing. So it just, as with anything, you brainstorm as a team and you come up with your best plan.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Lots to think about.
Yep.
On board. All right, moving on to action items.
Yeah, calendar. I can.
That you want me to marry? You're gonna leave me to it. Oh, I have it. No, I'll get it. Oh, I have it. Gonna be kind of small, but I'll try to zoom in.
So I meet monthly with our superintendent's advisory committee, and they are our ad hoc calendar committee. And so over the course of the last few months, we've been building our 26-27 calendar. So this is it. Just looking at the schedule, our 2 pre-service days, we start in August. Our 2 pre-service days are August 3rd and 4th. So first day of school will be August 5th. We had a lot of conversation. This is something that we're going to need to look at years out because it's getting pretty early. So we may need to start looking at shifting to that following week. But for this year, for next year, we start on August 5th. Weekly collaborations, parent-teacher conferences are the last week of September. We did what we've done in the past. We built in a couple of long weekends. So you see here, October 9th and 12th, we'll have a long weekend. So it's the week after parent-teacher conference is finished. We'll have a nice 4-day weekend. Then we get into November. So the 6th is the end of the first trimester. Veterans Day is on the 11th. We're smack dab in the middle of the week, so single day off. Thanksgiving is on the 26th, so we have our Thanksgiving break there. We get out on December 17th for our winter break. So we have the 18th off, followed by 2 weeks. You can go ahead and scroll. And then we come back on January 4th for our teacher work day. Kids come back on the 5th. We have our President's Days, and Martin Luther King. Then we have our spring parent-teacher conferences in March on the 4th and 5th. Traditional spring break, so we're out March 22nd through the 29th.
Has high school come out with their calendar?
No, not yet.
Are we going to be on different schedules?
We might. The high school district is very hard to communicate
We
with.
were on last year. This year we are.
I have not seen anything yet.
2 different.
Yeah. So then in April we have another 4-day weekend. So Friday, we're off Friday, April 23rd, and Monday, April 26th. And then in 26, 27, graduation is on Wednesday, May 26th at 4:00, which is lovely. But it's also the last day of school. So our teacher work day is on Thursday, the 27th. You are done, out, finito. The 28th, you start your summer break. So, I think it's a nice schedule. We start a little bit early, but we get out super early. Like we've talked about, I think we will have to have some conversations about pushing it up a week in the future, because it's getting pretty early. But that's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Why does it continue to get earlier and earlier?
Well, we're typically that first week. I mean, it would go, the following year, it would probably go to the 4th, but then it would probably jump up to the 6th, as we adjust to calendars. But we did have some talk about that first week of August just generally feels super early, for our teachers. Our secretaries are now coming back in the middle of July. My principals are coming back in the middle of July. So, it does really push the schedule back into, it doesn't feel like as much summer.
We're taking more.
Still 180 days, but
breaks.
so really we still have a traditional 2-week Christmas break. We have a couple of those 4-day weekends, but that's really, it's a pretty straightforward calendar. So it's nice.
Yeah. Last couple years we've been doing Halloween. I didn't see any days for Halloween. Is it
Halloween
or
it's on a Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Christmas holiday, New Year's holiday.
Yeah.
So the 31st is showing up as a holiday, right? But the actual New Year's holiday is on Saturday. Isn't that the same too for Christmas and the 24th? Or is the 24th not a designated holiday?
No, 24th is not a holiday. Christmas Day is a holiday.
Saturday.
New Year's Eve is a
no, that's Friday.
New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are holidays.
Gotcha, you get the two. Okay. That was my only question.
Yeah.
Got good cadence. I'll move to approve.
For a second.
And I would say ship this out to the high school district at ASAP.
I know.
Yeah. I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. All right. Thank you. Approval of district-wide comprehensive safety.
Turn it over to Mike.
Hey. So this is an overview of our comprehensive school safety plan for the 25-26 school year. The full safety plan is posted online and available for review. But the goal really is to ensure not only the students are safe, but that they feel welcome and they have a supportive learning environment while they're here with us. So ultimately, we want a safe, friendly, dynamic learning environment, but we also want to focus on teaching respect and kindness when they're here with us, and our safety plan is reflective of that. We also want students, families, teachers, staff, everyone part of our academic community to have that healthy dialogue, maintain respectful attitudes towards each other, responsible behavior while they're here with us at school. So the timeline for the review and development of our comprehensive school safety plan starts in August and October when the school site council reviews with the administrative team the disaster safety plans that are specific to each school site and finalize those. Receive some community input on our draft plans. November, we typically reach out and share our plans with local agencies, and then February, look for board approval of our plan. There are a few updates that have been incorporated over the last few years. The ones that we are going to highlight tonight for you are reform of our active shooter drills when we are conducting those on campus and having more of a trauma-informed lens when we conduct those. Instructional continuity plans, which I think were added last year, but that's a direct result of our distance learning through COVID-19
but it's so that our district has a plan in case something like that happens again to promote remote learning. Response to cardiac emergencies when individuals are with us at school, and then immigration enforcement notification for families. So we definitely, as part of our comprehensive school safety plan, and Ms. O'Meary touched on it, like we want to build and incorporate social emotional learning into what we're doing with our students. Our safety plan also reviews our anti-bullying policy and anti-harassment policies. Each part of the safety plan kind of has specific pieces that relate to different sites because there are 3 different school sites in one plan. But each school site has a plan for safe, drop off and pickup of the students, and then also notification protocols for when our students with dangerous behaviors and how we communicate that to our staff. The biggest thing is really our response to immigration enforcement. And we have kind of shared information on our website with an update to our plan for that response. It's linked here. But this is what is on our website and available to the public, just to kind of sum up what we would do in the event of immigration enforcement on campus and what we would not do. So barring any official court order, district staff would not ask or collect information about a student or family's immigration status, share student records, or allow unauthorized access to school grounds. And then protocols for interaction with immigration enforcement, verification and notification of immigration officials if they're on campus, denying requests for access to information, of course, unless there's a valid judicial warrant or court order. And then staff are not going to physically obstruct any type of immigration official if they're on campus from completing their duties. But we'd also have a plan for communicating to parents and guardians. Then we also encourage families to make sure that their information with our school sites are up to date to kind of assist with that communication process in terms of updating emergency contacts, who we can release students to in the event of an emergency, and then ensuring that families know their rights and know our process for filing, which is just through our uniform complaint procedure, which is also available online. The piece about our active shooter drills, the update really wants to make sure that we're not conducting high intensity drills for students. So we're not going to be placing them, in a situation where they have additional trauma just from a drill. We want them to be prepared, but we don't want to traumatize them. So we want to make sure they understand what we need them to do to make sure that they're going to be safe, but we want to do that in a very age appropriate way, and then communicate when we're having drills like that to families so they can help prepare their students as well. And at each school site, we run monthly drills. So fire is every month. Earthquake, we typically do quarterly, and then our intruder and lockdown are periodic. Each school site has a separate schedule for those drills. In the event of an emergency, like I said, each school has individualized disaster plans that are specific, and they identify specific individuals with skills that relate to these areas. The incident commander is typically interchangeable, but it's a member of our administrative team. Most often than not, it's the site administrator or someone that could step in if they are unavailable. But you have individuals identified with skills in the areas of facilities security, those that would be taking care of students in the event of an emergency, search and rescue, someone who's familiar with the campus, those things, first aid, and then a reunification team, getting students with their families. Each school site has different ways to communicate out, but there are some consistent points. We have our Emergent 3 application that we use, Parent Square, which we use quite often. We could also use an emergency situation. Radios, and then bell systems, and a PA system. So in the event of a cardiac arrest, we kind of outlined in our safety plan the steps that would be taken, but in brief, you begin CPR, notify emergency services, and then use one of our AED devices that are deployed throughout the district. We also include an opioid overdose protocol. But in terms of identifying if there is an opioid overdose situation, and then notifying emergency services, administering Narcan, which we have available, making that available if needed. Our safety plan kind of tries to align with what the County Office of Education has in terms of 5 big categories for potential emergency situations. And so the first is the shelter in place, which would be like a hazard around the campus where we would need to respond. They list chemical releases, fires in the area, not necessarily on campus, but making air quality to the point where we need to move inside. Earthquake, drop cover, and hold on. Secure campus would be more of like a human threat near if there's police activity in the neighborhood around the school. Lockdown barricade is when there's actually a violent intruder on campus. And then that's working with the teachers and the students to really kind of think in the moment what is going to be the most safest course of action, and running them through kind of those scenarios in a way that's age appropriate for the grade level that they're having. And then evacuation if there was a catastrophic emergency, whether bomb threat or chemical accident or explosion, places to go, partner campuses, evacuation zones. And again, those are specific to each school site. But really baked into all of our plans at each school site is having a plan to address the situation, make sure students are safe, and then communicating with their families. But also making sure that our staff know what to do, our students know what's expected of them in those situations, and then working with our teachers and students so that they can remain calm because they know what to do. We've practiced it, and we've talked about it. So. But really, the ultimate plan is to make sure that we review this plan with you by February, and then working to train all of our staff in CPR, first aid, conducting our drills, maintaining facilities to reduce hazards that potentially could be involving students, and then making sure that we are supporting our vulnerable students, special education students with specific plans to meet their needs in an emergency situation, and then our continuity plan if we needed to shut down and move to distance learning for any reason.
Thank you. Any questions for Mike? Any motion to?
I have one question. I'm sorry. There's new policies in here, but this was made before we approved policies that appear to be directly correlated to this regarding immigration. Like, are they part of that?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, the information that I showed you.
As long as they're okay.
We probably
You're getting it from both sides because this is kind of like a California recommendation, generic. But then they've also tied it to board policies that we just got that we have to approve. I'm just letting everybody know.
Yeah, this is all reflective of that piece.
Okay. Got it.
So, Mike, when we do the periodic drills for someone on campus, who runs those drills? Is that the principals, or do we have people come on campus to help run those drills?
No, it's mostly the site administrator and the office team that kind of coordinate the drills with the teachers directly.
Okay. I was wondering because in the policies it said, trauma informed, so no guns drawn on campus. And I thought, well, we weren't doing that anyway, were we?
Yeah.
There was a time about 10 years ago when lockdown drills, the sheriff's departments were engaging with schools and school sites, and they would schedule these drills where they would, kind of just charge on campus unannounced at the very beginning. And it was really traumatic, especially for young kids. So all this does is it just mandates that practice does not happen anymore.
It's interesting how that's evolved because we all went to a training. And
Yes, we did.
If you don't introduce the reality to the kids of the nastiness that can go on, then they won't be prepared. So it was a little harsher. So now it's interesting to hear that it's softening a little bit, and maybe that's a good thing too. Yeah. you can have your childhood and not have to worry about intruders shooting.
Yeah, there's definitely an evolution. I remember at the time,
Yeah, I was.
communicating with the sheriff's department, and they were too busy. They were doing too many of them, and they couldn't come out to our campus. So I saved our children.
Well, I'm bringing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then, as related to that, we've been trying to have money to develop a better fencing and security plan. We've got 2 bonds shot down just to do exactly what was recommended. And so maybe we could start to incorporate some of that stuff that was recommended a long time ago as part of that safety plan. We've already done certain things and changed our procedures, but we're in the country, so it's kind of hard. Anyway, I interrupted that.
All right. We had a motion by Sarah.
I made a motion.
In a second.
Second.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And this is,
The next one is a resolution.
yeah, approval of resolution 2025-2610 for the reduction or discontinuation of particular kinds of services on the layoff of certificated employees.
So this is our layoff resolution. Based on our phase-out plan, we projected a total of 3 layoffs for this year. What you see in the resolution is 5 multi-subject credentials. We wanted to overnotice just in case that changes. The other thing is when you have a tie with employees, let's say you have 3 employees who are all in the same space, same place in the seniority list, and the one of the employees is on the cut at the cut line. Because they're all hired at the same time, it's considered a tie, so you notice all of them. And then if you have a tie, you have to develop tie-breaking criteria for that, which is in our next action item. So what you see before you in this resolution is the reduction of 5 multi-subject credential positions.
Okay. I'll move to approve that as presented. I do want to say this though too. In prior years, we've had to do this pre-planning based upon funding and availability. So this is nothing new. What you're seeing this year is more just you got to notice it. And that's why you're seeing this big bank of all these notices, because it provides this flexibility. We're still trying to figure out where we go from here. And I just want to make sure everyone's aware. So I move to approve.
I'll second that.
And this is a resolution, so we can.
Aye.
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 Thank you. And we'll move on to number 4. Approval of resolution 2025-2611, determination of tie-breaking criteria for reduction of particular kinds of services.
So that was exactly what I just referred to. So we developed tie-breaking criteria for settling just that. So I believe the first criteria you have in front of you, I don't have the resolution in front of me, is credentials.
Yes.
Right. So you have
license
a clear credential, two employees that are tied. One has a clear credential, one has an intern credential. The clear credential would trump would supersede the intern credential. Then next to that, if those 2 are equal, it would be recent relevant experience, followed by specialized training or skill. If they do something that is going to be a useful skill in the district moving forward, that might be a criteria. Their date of hire. Sometimes their date of hire can be different by a day. We hire a teacher who doesn't attend the new teacher orientation set. One doesn't, one does. Their hire date becomes their first day of service. So if one attends the new teacher orientation, but the other one doesn't, that one has an earlier hire date. So it's those sorts of things.
So the very first criteria is seniority, but it doesn't go by the day, it goes by the year you were hired.
Right.
So then it gets, what hour did you walk in the door?
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's number 4.
Yeah.
That's following.
Yeah.
All the other criteria.
It seems like a reasonable criteria. I'll move to approve the type.
Well, and so then in addition to that, there's also what we call skipping criteria. That becomes more relevant when we start getting into single subject, but we did use skipping criteria here just to make sure. But that is, let's say we're laying off a single subject and there's going to be one math and one science, right? Skipping criteria would be if you are safe from layoff if you hold a language arts credential or multiple authorizations and in another subject area. If you have a specialized credential like Ed Services or Pupil Personnel Services. So there's two types of criteria that are employed in a layoff situation. One is for a tiebreaker. One is to skip because of different authorizations.
Okay. That is for if we had a more junior employee who was teaching subject we need, that would allow us to skip.
Correct.
Does seem reasonable.
You made the motion?
I'll move on to, I'll just present.
I'll second.
And it's a roll call. So
Aye.
Aye. Oops.
Aye.
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 Aye. Approval of resolution 2025-2612 for non-reemployment of temporary certificated employees.
Look, if any temporary employees, they are laid off before any permanent employees. We do have one employee who's serving in a temporary position right now. So that person will lose their position. As luck would have it, that person is not luck, but that person is leaving to pursue other opportunities. So it's not as devastating as it would be in a normal circumstance. Yeah.
All right, I move to approve. Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. And number 6, approval of resolution 2025-2613 for the reduction of classified staff service due to the lack of funds and work.
Yeah, so when we shifted to a full day TK program, we did that late. And so there were some adjustments that needed to be made to the schedule. And so Charlene is going to speak to you about what's going to change in the TK model.
Sure. Go to the pump.
Ultimately, that little bit of shift, I couldn't shift any schedules because prior to that, I had schedules that started early for the 11:30 pickup of the TK. So when the TK full day happened, we went from an 11:30 pickup to a 2:20 pickup. I had teachers that were working 4 hours that are necessary for the amount of labor that's necessary and the show up time that's necessary now. So basically, I cut 15 minutes out of 3 schedules and 15 minutes out of another schedule. So it's a total of an hour cut back what we have, so that we're not wasting time. Just kind of, it's just getting it, making it more efficient.
Okay.
And it's still providing time to do the thing that needs to be done. Because right now we just kind of have a luxury of extra time. But looking forward with our budget, I'm hoping that we're not gonna have a lot of problems and we get to where we have more problems, and the next thing I ever have to do is come back and be this is the new tuition. So I hope we don't have to do that.
Right. And your enrollment will most likely change, right? So.
Well, that's what we have that from that report. I have sort of an idea of how many might be here next year, but that's just a projection.
It's all you're gonna have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Okay.
We appreciate you looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. We have a resolution. Or not a resolution.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, John?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, and number 7, approval of resolution 2025-2614 for the release of a temporary classified employee.
Pretty self-explanatory. It was a temporary classified, so there's a release based on that.
So moved.
Second.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, and we have number 8, approval of declaration of need for highly qualified educators.
So this seems a bit counterintuitive. We're laying off and then we're approving a declaration of need. What the declaration of need allows us to do is, if we're in a situation where we have to hire a teacher, say there's a couple of teachers move on to a different district, whatever, even in spite of layoffs. So we have some teachers that leave. And we engage in a process to hire for those positions, and we don't find a qualified applicant. What the declaration of need allows us to do, by approving this declaration of need, what it allows us to do is approve a temporary permit, what we call a STIP, a PIP, or an intern, so that we have to show that we have exhausted the process and we have looked for a qualified applicant. But if we don't find one, then by approving this declaration of need, it gives us the authority to hire under a provisional.
We've done this, we do this every year. It's just, like you said, it's a bit of an anomaly, you know.
Part of that process, sorry, John, part of that process for finding a qualified individual does require re-engaging anybody who had been.
Absolutely, yeah.
That-
If
that
we
would
do a
come
layoff, they go on a rehire list, and so they would be right of first refusal. Yeah.
So I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
And John?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's a declaration, I think, right?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
good.
sorry.
I'll-
I'm sorry.
Right.
You guys
That's fine.
flow.
That's okay.
Approval of the audit report of district financial statement for 24.
Been waiting so long.
Oh yeah, trying to grow over there, you know. I think they say if you start, you can grow a little more.
Oh, there you go.
So you better keep it interesting.
All right, so I don't have a presentation. There's 8 findings on the audit report. Finding 1 through 3 are journal entries that the auditor wants me to make on essentially when I do my unaudited actuals, any journal entries he wants me to do them in this year to represent the beginning balance of this year's budget, ending balance of last year's, ending the unaudited actuals. So findings 1 to 3, he gave me the journal entries he wants me to place on there. Essentially what he wants to do going forward is he wants to come in a month or 2 months before I start closing books to make sure that if there's any journal entries he wants us to do to represent any of the funds coming in and out, he wants me to enter them before he comes. That way there's no audit findings in journal entries. Finding number 4 actually goes back a little bit to our school accountability report card. Finding number 4 and 5. One of them, for some odd reason, our FIT report stated 23, 24 on there. So he wants to just make sure that when we turn that report in, that we have the correct FIT report. Even though we did do our FIT report we normally do it in October of every year. He wants to make sure that it was uploaded correctly. So there was one that did, for some reason, it didn't upload. The 5th finding also goes back to the sufficiency of instructional textbooks. I guess one of them was referencing an old material where he also basically essentially he wants us just to make sure that we're referencing the correct year in that report. And then finding number 6 goes back to essentially we spent $10,061 more than what we received from the state. If you guys recall, we had a deficit spend of like $400,000 in the 24-25 school year, but it also goes back to the 23-24. So I remember
the invoice hit after we closed it.
So essentially, we spent a little bit more than what we received from LCFF funding. So it's kind of like a warning, like, hey, you deficit spending. So that's what finding number 6. Finding number 7 goes back to ELOP. So ELOP keeps changing the rules. So there was a third-party signatures that we needed to get from YMCA. Lily and myself have been contacting YMCA nonstop, trying to get some information from them. I'll be honest, they're not being the best sportsmen right now with us.
YMCA or who?
Yeah, the YMCA. I did.
Not as down home as it used to be.
So they're supposed to send us the registration packets, and they haven't sent us the registration packets.
How ironic. The thing that we're getting dinged for, they can't provide.
Yeah, so that's one thing. That's finding number 7. And then finding number 8 is our CEA waiver that we've submitted to the county. The county already approved it. This CEA form essentially says that we need to spend 60% of our, how do I explain it? So our entire expenditures that we use in that school year, 60% has to be for instructional. But in salaries, we're spending over 80%. But in instruction, it's an old formula. So it takes off, like when counseling, it takes off a lot of these other individuals that we don't have specifically coded to instruction. So it excludes them from that formula. So this form is like a very updated form. They're trying to see if they take it off. We still have to fill it out. The majority of districts are filling out and request their county to approve the CEA form. So if I'm not mistaken, just here in Monterey County, I think 18 of the districts submitted waivers. And the state needs us to keep doing this form. They haven't removed it from us yet. They're talking about possibly removing it because this goes back to pre-LCFF funding. So that's why.
So there's some things in there where they almost saying they're saying to bring in a third party auditor sooner. And
so that's him.
Okay, so he's offered to come in and do a pre-check.
Correct. So essentially, our audit is it was June, right, Tracy? I think right. June. He does his first check, and then second check in October. The first check, he kind of goes over more HR stuff, more employment verification. Like it's mainly in June when he comes. It's mainly Tracy and some ASB stuff. A little bit of Ardell myself, but then when he comes in October, it's mainly me and Ardell that he's looking at. But by then, I have to close books by July 30th because I have to bring the audit actuals in September. So he wants to come between June to April to try to see if there's any journals that we have to do before I close books so that I can make a journal before he arrives in October.
That makes a lot of sense. So he's willing to come out to do some pre-checks on checklists and make sure you're getting the paperwork in order.
So essentially, he wants to do 3 audits, and he offered to come in and do the journals for us, and we have to do them. So like right here and this one, it's 6 journals that we have to do, and I'll take care of it.
Nice. Is he going to charge more for that?
Nope, it's free.
Because part of the service.
Part of the contract.
Okay. Hey, if you need people, you need a third party auditor to check your books, but if it can help you navigate and learn more, that's a good thing. So I think
That's great.
And by that you're complying with some of the recommendations.
Yeah.
Order for number 6, which was the deficit spending. We're allowed to deficit spend if we need to. So what could we have done differently and not got a funding for that one?
Not spent $10,061. So essentially, it's a
Is it
little
more of a reconciliation.
So yes, but essentially what we could have done is we could have pulled those 10,000 and rather than bring them out of the general fund, we could have removed them from a restricted resource, like moved it into a restricted resource. So then essentially we would have just spent LCFF funding would have just been to the dot, it would have been 0. We could have just moved them to restricted resource essentially.
I say apply that for the future. How can you take something that's a projection? You just got to spend it up to what it is because it's never enough anyway.
Yeah.
And just if you're going to overspend, use it in a less. It's oxymoron. A restricted fund is less restricted to spend on. But don't just say, yeah, we spend every penny of what you gave us, which was never enough, and then we have other funds, different revenue sources. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting audit. He definitely is thorough. Nothing catastrophic. Most of it's been corrected or implemented, and the items that haven't been, you're working on those, right?
So the journals, they were already entered, and so they should be coming up in second in a row. So everything will be there.
Sounds good. I like the QC, additional training, kind of additional.
And
items.
then there will be, well, there's 2 journals that I can't enter yet because I need 2 new funds that I need to pass through a resolution from the board, a Fund 40 and a Fund 56. And that's for our COP for our solar project. They want us to do our own journal entries, even though we're not holding the money in our accounts here. He wants some journals just to at least reference how much we're spending.
All right, based upon what I've seen and what you presented, I moved to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Gerardo.
All right.
It's a lot, Gerardo. Thank you.
So we are on to reconsideration of approval of agreement with Washington Union School District and Pacific Gas and Electric for easement rights and responsibilities.
You're still up, man.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
You're trying to get out of here.
All right, so I don't have a presentation, but so the PG&E easement that we have right now, originally, I would say last year I came with an easement. The easement originally had PG&E, us, and for some odd reason, the neighbors next door. They were saying that our parking lot belonged to them next door, and then essentially after surveyors and everybody got involved, the parking lot is our property. So PG&E now resent their easement, and they want us to basically give them permission to install a new transformer in, well, currently, if the plan would have stayed, it would have been right in front of that pole where Jay normally parks. Not sure if you guys know where he parks.
Right over here by the street light.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would have been right there. It would have taken apart. It would have taken 2 parking spots, and then the chargers would have been going across.
It would have taken up 3.
Great. And
2.5.
now, John took me on a walk yesterday, and we found a new location where it makes more sense to put it across where
by the water main.
Yeah, next to the water main, in between those bushes. Put the transformer there. It's away from parking lot and away from everybody's eyes, so it might look a little more appealing. So the easement would allow PG&E to come and install the transformer. So if we do go with this easement, we do approve it, it would allow us to allow PG&E to come in and work on it. If it, at any point we do want to remove it, that's where we would have to pay. At the moment, we're not paying anything. It's allowing PG&E to do it free of charge for us, and they're doing it. That's why.
Is that where the charging stations are going to go then?
The charging stations would be fed off there's the transformer and then a switchgear.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's private. So what it does is it doesn't put a transformer or infrastructure in anywhere to eat up parking spaces or preclude any kind of future development of the entire parking area. So it puts it just on the perimeter, and then everything's just private service out to the chargers. And
So can we put the chargers wherever we need to put them, or do they have to be in proximity?
you can they have to be within like 300 feet, but it makes a lot of sense because we already parked the buses up there in the DG. So if we can put the chargers in and not have cords going across sidewalks, we were like, that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're selecting that. Obviously, this was just a walk yesterday, but PG&E are not good planners of your property, just so you know. So when they say they're going to put a transformer on there, you just don't say, hey, that sounds great, because the person who's designing that lives in a cubicle in Fresno and it doesn't know what you're doing. So long story short, you want us to approve the process to obtain, coordinate with PG&E further, update their easement plan so you can secure the transformer work and stuff like that.
So I think the easement would stay the same. So if we would.
The easement won't be the same if you change the transformer location.
I think I saw the easement and it doesn't have plans on there. So if the plans do change, then we would have to get an easement. Well, no. I think we would have.
They're choosing a spot to put their transformer, and the line that goes up to it, they need an easement. So if we put it closer to the road, they still need an easement, but it's not through the middle of our park.
Yeah, but the current easement, I believe it's only giving them authorization to put the transformer wherever we want. And because the plan was originally there, we would just have to let them know. Well, I already contacted them and I told them we're changing it. So if we do approve it, I would say pending
our preferred location.
Our preferred location.
That's what I'm trying to clarify so you can keep moving forward. So I'm suggesting we just make sure we're clear that we have a better location. So I'll approve this pending your verified location that works best for us.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks for all that work, Gerardo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. And we're on to approval of interdistrict transfer agreement between Washington Union District and the Sparkles Union School District.
Okay. So this goes back to the territory transfer and what Megan and Justin both spoke about earlier in the meeting. We received a letter from Dr. Gus, and essentially what the agreement is asking for, is asking both boards, the Spreckles board and our board, to approve an agreement that would allow the families of the two petitioners, not all the families in the territory transfer area that were part of that, the residents of that area that attend our schools. It would be just these two families based on the treatment that they received as backlash, I guess, as for lack of a better term, the backlash that came their way as a result of their stepping up to go through the process of creating a petition, sending it out into the community, gathering signatures, and then proceeding with the process as it's defined under the law. So you have all read the letter. I don't think I need to read the letter to you. But Dr. Gus is asking our board and Spreckles board to approve this agreement. It would allow the children of each of these families to attend our schools for a period of 5 years. And the 5 year is because it's based on board dynamics. Boards change, so it doesn't lock in future boards. Situations may change, boards change. So it would, if this is approved and it needs to be extended after 5 years, it would have to be revisited. So it does have a use by date.
Any comments?
I witnessed firsthand what these two families in different situations, what they had to go through. So I agreed with everything in that letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
No,
I was just curious, what's the status of this? Because it has to be approved by both boards.
Mhm.
So where are they in the process on their end?
The last conversation that Dr. Gus and I had with Eric, he seemed to waver on his commitment. As we were all at the public hearings, well, not all of us, but he sort of made a very public statement about this is easy. You don't need to go through this process. I've got a lawyer in the room. We could be done with this. Just draw up an agreement and let the kids stay at Washington Union. Grandfather them in was the term he used. And he maintained that throughout both public hearings and throughout the territory transfer meeting. So when we met originally with Dr. Gus, he made the same statements. This is what I've been saying all along. This is what we need to do. I have no problem. My board will support it. In the last meeting I had with Dr. Gus and with Eric, he walked it back and said he is not sure that his board is going to support this.
So what does that mean?
It has to be approved by both boards in order for it to be an action.
But if his board doesn't approve this, and we approve it, then they've got to go after an interdistrict and they've got to release them?
They're saying they won't release them.
Are they saying
they will?
They're saying they will release them, but they have to go through that process.
But they won't sign the MOU.
They won't sign the MOU. What they're indicating. Now, I don't know what their board will do in a board meeting, right? And if Megan and Justin are at that board meeting to look those people in the eye and say, this is what you need to do. Now that may change the game. But what Eric seemed to indicate in our most recent meeting was he was not sure. This board will follow their same procedures that they always do, in that they will release anybody who applies for an interdistrict transfer. They're not going to hold. But
And treat everybody fairly and not bully them.
well,
So anyway,
yeah.
I'm gonna get on my soapbox. So super brave, and like you're going through a really cool process, because having that area of Toro become part of this district makes way more sense in common sense. And I would challenge anybody from just a common sense reason to deny that. So after going through the process, there's clearly some bad logic out there with some of the people that we're looking at. You too, that was a great thing. This is our community and public duty. You're not in our district. We totally support your families, just so you know that. And to go through it and then have 2 accountants vet it, and to get the table set like that, the only thing that derailed it was emotional, no logic based, I would say, theory that derailed everything. And then it turned into bullying. We as a board have been staying out of this because I thought it was a good idea. It makes the world of sense, right? So we're like, dang, that's good for them. And then we saw every box being checked and we're like, this is a no-brainer. So we've been sitting on the sidelines. I don't want to influence it, right? And then and same thing with Dr. Deneen Gus. She's handling a situation with her board, right? So she's always been just a good teammate, right? And so to go through this process and have our people be treated so poorly, and yourselves, all based upon emotional and angst and bad logic, it just reflects super poorly on Eric, for one, because he's non-honorable as he's proved himself to be. Their board seems very reactive and vendettive, if you will. You guys have rights, and so they're being infringed on. And then for the county to act the way they did, certain people should have recused themselves from the vote, but didn't do so, and repeated information that their own staff told them don't talk about 20 times. So in my mind, their whole process is tainted. I heard about another board member that was uneducated on the whole process and said no because people weren't answering a question that was ambiguous from her because she was uneducated on the subject. So the whole process that went through those folks and the bullying and their bad decision is a farce. And I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. But here we are, right? And this is an attempt by Dr. Deneen Gus to hey, she's trying to be a good teammate and smooth it all out. But guess what we have here? It's just so ironic, that, you're trying to be over here and then they bully you and force you to stay in their district. And at the same time, they say, oh, well, you can go over to them. It is just so backwards. And there should be a lot of people issuing you two and our staff apologies for the way they were treated. And now we have an MOU that they won't sign ahead of time and they're unambiguous on. So they're asking us, please save us. And then we signed it and they go, oh, sorry.
Still out.
So, and I want you to know that we support you as families, but based upon this document and the lack of commitment and fairness shown by these people, you can't trust them until proven otherwise. And if they believe that, then have them put their money where their mouth is and sign it. And then we'll look at it. That's my opinion. We could go through this exercise tonight and get bad news. Put their money where their mouth is.
So, but what do you think the harm in what, I mean, because we stand behind these families and
Totally.
we want these families here and we agree with it. So what's the harm in us approving
Is the
this
home
tonight?
district, here's where we're at too. We have to have contracts with the home district, right, for all inter-district transfers, in addition to a separate approval per family to allow their students to come here. In addition to that, now we need an MOU signed. We don't have any of those signed, right, by that home district to allow this process to move forward. That's what's happened now, is on these inter-district transfers, we have to have, it says on our transfer, do you have approval from the home district on your application? That means a letter that says, yeah, we got it. In addition to that, we have to get board approval to allow this every year approval, right?
Well, okay, so I want to just kind of jump in right there.
Please.
Because what you're addressing is the provision that we talked about back in December that stated in our board policy is absent a signed agreement that stipulates the renewal period a student can stay through the highest grade offered. So we can sign agreements as participating districts. I can bring an agreement to you, Eric can bring it to his board that stipulates that people have to renew their inter-district transfers every year. That's a signed contract between districts.
Right.
What we have on our forms, I have it on our form and Eric has it on his form that said you have to renew every year. And our families do. We've always had that expectation. But without a signed agreement between districts, it's extended through the highest grade offered at the school. It's not enforceable. So we had that conversation in December about pursuing those agreements with other districts. And I began that process. What I heard from all of you in January was, now that we have a phase out plan where kids can stay through the highest grade offered, we don't need the agreements. So I don't have any agreements in place. I have an approved agreement from the Alisal Union School District Board. I have an approved agreement from the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District Board. I have Eric's handshake that says his board will approve the contract, but I don't have a contract in place with Alisal. And I have Salina City that's waiting for us. We had her ready to sign the contract, and then I pulled it back because of direction I got from you all. So we don't have any agreements in place as of right now.
Point being, we don't have a written agreement with their board, and we don't have individual written agreements from them that says it's okay to release them into our district.
Right.
And then the capper would be sign this MOU. So what I'm saying is, they need to step up and provide it in writing. And the only thing we heard lastly was the board was on the fence about signing the MOU. So we're committed to you. The only one who's not committed is the home district and the people that this is being created for to protect. And I definitely want to go on record to acknowledge the bad behavior that has been shown in here from the county by the county board, Spreckles board, and Spreckles superintendent. I want it on the record that this acknowledges that, and it does. But if they're not willing to sign it, don't bring it to us.
But what would be the?
Can I offer one perspective? One perspective might be, if you sign it, you take a stand and say, we support it. Put your money where your mouth is. You need to support it as well. If we don't sign it, does it give them license to say, see, they don't support it. Why are we going to support it?
Right. That's what I
don't know. It's just another way to look at it.
Perception, but I think they got a track record.
I think I hear what you're saying, John, about like you want to try to like draw a line in their misbehavior. Like that's not acceptable. Like I think for me though, the part is like I can't change them. We're not going to change Eric. We're not going to change them. They're going to do what they're going to do, and we have to think about what do we think is important to us, and what sorts of things can we control. What's the sorts of things that we can do, and if that means to me like then hey, this is where we stand on this. You guys did wrong. I don't mind telling you did wrong. That's fine, but we're going to do what we think is. You treated people badly, and we have in our policies that's what we can do for them. So that I'm not sure that I need to make them do something before I do it. Like I think is right.
Unfortunately, and I still believe this to be the case, on our forms for interdistrict transfers, you have to have in writing from them before it says on the form that they're okay to transfer. So let's just say this issue does not exist. On the interdistrict transfer form, it says your home district has to first approve.
Yeah,
The first move is the home district, and we don't have that. I don't think we do. So let's take the MOU out of question and a basic renewal for my interdistrict transfer. We have to have it in writing from Spreckles, or else all is null and void. Oh, yes, no,
Yeah, go ahead.
It's germane to this discussion.
So we asked Dr. Gus if we should fill out that form because both Justin and I fill it out every year. We have to get our kids in the district, and we were advised not to fill that form out yet, that the MOU goes first for this situation.
That was my question. Like, why is she bringing us this thing if there's this process that should normally be played out?
So, okay, so what this is, and like in Megan and Justin's case, when we sent our Are You Returning letters, I didn't even send them a letter yet, not knowing what their situation is, right? Are they going to be a district family on an approved interdistrict transfer based on this? Are they going to be phased out because they each have a third grader? So I didn't have a letter to send them at this point because I don't know what their status is, right? So they don't have anything yet. So they haven't even started the process based on not knowing where they stand, okay? The difference between this and the standard interdistrict transfer, they would still have to do the standard interdistrict transfer. But this is good for a period of 5 years. Okay.
What grade are your kids in?
We both have a third grader. I have a third grader and a first grader right now.
And a kindergartner.
And then I have an incoming kindergartner.
So 5 years doesn't even cover.
This is what I'm trying, the logic as currently written.
But that's they will not allow that to go.
Doesn't go beyond 5 years.
When we met with Dr. Gus originally, she had said it would cover our kids TK through 8th grade in the MOU. Every step we've took in this whole process, for those who have followed, every time we think we figured it out, there's something. This time we discovered in the state of California, it's not recommended more than 5 years to proceed aboard.
It's an ed code provision. You can't go more than 5 years. And the hard part with something like this is a unique situation that you could be in education for 38 years and never have encountered it. So you have to do a lot of homework in a short amount of time. And I think in Dr. Gus's case, I know, based on my conversations with her throughout this process, she felt horribly walking out of that boardroom the night of the territory transfer. She called me the next morning at 7:00, and we had a conversation about what an unfortunate experience it was. So I know she was feeling very badly, and she wanted to do everything she could to help, especially these two families. Once we started getting all the information we needed in order to draft the MOU, the attorneys get involved, and then we learn more. And Ed Code says you can't do it beyond 5 years. So that's why.
The limitation.
The limitation is 5, but you can renew it after 5. Now, if this doesn't go, let's say you guys approve it and say, here you go. Now it goes to Spreckles, and it's up to them. Approve it or don't approve it. If they don't approve it, they still have the option of going through the regular interdistrict transfer process, which Spreckles has said, I know it's the cost of a handshake, but Spreckles has said they would do. They will release them, and then it would be an annual renewal that they would have to go through.
So this then becomes the exception of the rule of our phased out grade span.
Becomes an exception.
Well, this follows the policy that we've set though too about there's bullying involved and there's a
whole different aspect, but I get it. I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
This changes what we just approved. That grade span, 3rd graders can't go to 4 and 5th can't go to 6. So it's a complete change to the policy we just approved as an exception because of bad behavior and bullying. So, like I said, I get all that, but I don't feel like there's a commitment on their end by this showing up unsigned. And this is based on not just speculation, but like Eric told Gina that I don't think my board's going to sign the MOU. So it's just terrible.
So I agree with you, and I appreciate your passion on this because I feel strongly about it as well. But the thing that bothers me too is that you guys put in such a tremendous amount of work and you took so much on your own shoulders and you did it for your whole community. Now, this thing that we're talking about right now is to clean up a mess that the County Board of Education made. And it's to make things right for you, but it doesn't make things right for our district, and it doesn't make things right for everybody in your community who supported what you did. And after what you've been through, who in the world is going to stand up and try to make this happen again? And it should happen again because those kids should be in our district. So that's the thing that bothers me about this.
Yeah.
We clean up their mess and we allow the bad behavior to continue, and nobody's going to do what you guys did.
Yeah, I think you should explore options too. Have it represented, and anybody that didn't do their homework on the subject should recuse themselves.
There's no appeal on this, and that's what's horrific.
There's no appeal, but we have extenuating circumstances, maybe not on the books, but you could present a very good case. I know you're out of energy, and I get it. You're like, but we can't be bullied when people are having, they're just not treated fairly. You got to stick up for yourself. You deserve it. And I feel the same way. I feel like I want to stick up for you, but it's so weird the way this has gone. And we've been completely removed from it because you guys are over there in a little slice of community that's attached to us where the kids could ride their bikes to elementary school. But no, we got to go across two highways or a major county road and a highway to go to elementary school.
Right.
It's
When the
just
school
so
board member
weird.
started talking about, I want to tell you the history of this. I thought he was going to say why Sarah Village was Spreckles in the first place, which I suppose would keep Spreckles viable, right? Because they were going to die. So that was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, instead of this whole household finance thing.
I've thought about this too. It would be nice to do a history dive on it because from what I'm thinking too, I think Sarah Village is developed first. And I think then
Yes.
then they're like, we don't have an elementary school. Well, what's the closest, Spreckles? That's how you got in the district. Toro wasn't built till the late 70s. And it was a
Oh, is that
special.
what it was? Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
it was a special needs. And then it changed. We were like, hey, Toro's a thriving community now. And then you guys had already been attached to Spreckles. I mean, I believe that's the logic. And so
And and just to go back, the more we talk about this, I suppose I may have spoken out of turn because Spreckles School Board can do whatever they want to do, and they're going to have to consider this independently. That's just based on, what was indicated that they may not support it. So I don't want to go specifics and lock down anything and have them come at me and say, why did you say we wouldn't support it? Because I don't know that for a fact. They could support it. Every board makes their own decision, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of conversation about it.
No, all I wanted to say, and I'll let you talk. I mean, I understand what you're saying, John, but I want to approve this tonight. That's my motion to approve it.
Okay. And then, so Gina, like you said, I've heard this, and that's fine, but you got to relay what you hear. But the fact that this document was created to help the county board and Spreckles board and the superintendent get out of a jam, because they have liable issues in my mind. They didn't sign it. And this is their get out of jail.
Well, it was designed to go to one board then the other. It was.
Why not start with the people that it gets them out of a jam?
Yeah, I think the original plan was you guys were going to vote tonight, and then
They had
They
originally
have to have a special board meeting if it was that important to them. I'm not giving them any slack, zero. The logic on this is terrible. I'd love to talk with their board and Eric and everyone on the county board about their bad behavior and how dare they treat people that way. I'm here to stick up for what's right. I'm just telling
Bring
you.
you with us next week?
Sure. I'd be glad to. They don't want a piece of me, though. Come get me if you want me, Eric. And others. So So I don't mean to incite anything, but this is bad policy created by others, and they want to get out of it, but they're not willing to commit and like really make it happen. No apologies, you know. It's just sickening. Have I said enough? Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I just think we feel that this is our last hope. And that's why we're coming.
All right.
I
So,
do believe that it needs to be
But there's-
further investigated and how it went the way it went. I do agree with that. I'm not going to be the one that fights it.
right, I've done that before where you give all this energy and it was just a great thing.
we did email it to the state and nothing came back.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I just think we're two parents that both also have full-time working jobs and didn't realize when we even began the process how much work it would be.
Sure.
I think we're at a loss what's left to do or where to go from here with very little guidance
Makes
besides, I mean, what we've got from our own superintendent here. We would be completely lost.
Just curious. So in your neighborhood, you got Toro, Sunshine, and Sarah Village. What
0 that go to Sparkle.
0 go to Spreckles? What is, now we got older families because we're crowd same way. There's some influx of younger families. What is the percentage like when you poll? Like who?
Well,
is it
okay,
8%?
supposedly they came up with a number that 21 students within our proposed area went to Spreckles. I don't know if that's people that are using their parents' addresses or something, but I mean, we went door to door.
We had 112 homes.
Yeah, we had 112 homes out of the 175 that approved it. That signed. And we also went Memorial Day weekend where there was a ton of people not home.
So you had no response on a few.
There was a ton of no response. I think I had
There's 175 parcels.
Yeah,
I think. So we had on the petition itself 112 homes out of the 175 that did sign the petition.
It was a super majority. So the will of the people definitely was not heard here.
I think we had about 5 people that were no. I think maybe 2 or 3 of them understood what we were doing,
right?
And some were just like, no. I think they just maybe thought we were selling something and just didn't really give us the time of day. Yes, overwhelming majority. I mean, everybody agrees. That's even when my dad went to school here.
Yeah.
He was like, it made no sense. Our buses met and went the opposite direction. He's like, it makes
zero sense.
No sense whatsoever. You know.
We talked about the history and look how much Las Palmas has grown. So
well, yeah, I had a map and it's been the same for 70 years, and that was before any of the Las Palmases were built, before Indian Springs was built, before Ranchita. But I mean,
new Spreckles.
The new Spreckles development. I mean, they've grown substantially.
Right. They're huge.
We have not here.
Yeah. And the dynamics have changed where I think the original premise of there wasn't a school, the area was built and it needed an elementary.
Was there a village there before Toro Park Estates?
Sarah was first.
Sarah was first.
So
that's back in that time, right?
Yeah.
When, even before Toro Regional Park was built, their only throughway was out to River Road. There was no way to get even on Highway 68. It was probably a right or a left turn, right?
I bet it was
there was no way to get there.
Either a stop sign.
And then it was the entrance, if you and I remember, and you remember, the entrance to Toro Park was crossing Highway 68.
Yeah. Yes, and you had to wait like an hour sometimes on Memorial Day week. So I think that logic all just supports everything we're saying. It was a bad decision, but a necessary one because there was no school out there, so they had it. So anyway, you would hope that because this is super important because it's a transfer of land stuff, but it's really trying to support what a community is saying. Hey, this is what we want, and they got shut down by a terrible process, supported by logic and staff, but shut down by emotion, and it just wasn't good. So let's, Sarah, I think you have a motion? I'm going to second her motion, and I'd love to see the Spreckles board sign this. And Eric, you come out and then apologize and maybe rally and try to get a group of apologies to help soothe the bad feelings that you've created.
You gotta say so. This is just not a resolution, right? It's just a
No.
approve. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm gonna abstain. I support the families, but I'm glad it's passing, but I'm abstaining. for the
I do want to
families.
say something, Hope. We did try to fight for this to be for every family that currently has kids in our proposed area, and we were told no. So
Yeah.
I understand your stance. I just want to
We
make
didn't
you
forget
aware
them.
of that.
No, I know you
Yeah,
didn't.
and
I
this whole thing has been us fighting
You
for.
guys have done such an incredible job to stand up, and you were so principled, and you were so careful, and you did everything right. And the way this has happened is just not right.
Feels like you really did the textbook thing you're supposed to do with civic engagement and
Absolutely.
all the
You're
rules,
retaliated against.
and you've got beaten up for it, and that's not right. So appreciate it. Okay. Number 12.
So you should sleep easy tonight.
Approval of the 2026 ballot for CSBA delegate assembly.
So we do have one candidate for the CSBA Delegate Assembly. I don't know if you want to support or remain neutral. That would be completely up to you.
Our process to remain neutral, pretty much.
Yeah, so
I would support that. The only time we've ever supported is when the person came here in person and was
Right.
very professional
Yeah.
about it. So I agree.
So can I get a, how do we make this motion?
How do you-
Then
do I make a
make a
motion?
motion to remain neutral on, or make a motion to not take a stance? Okay, so
I'll make a motion to not approve.
I'll second that.
all in favor of not approving this resolution.
Aye.
And finally, board approval of policies.
Yeah, so what you have is there was a packet of updated policies with one deletion on immigration enforcement on school campuses. It's a mandated policy. It has to be approved by March 1st. And then in addition to that, I have revised our residency policy and regulation to provide more clarity on how we define residency in the district. Because of, people wanting to perhaps live there's some people who have rentals. Some people want to acquire a rental but not move. And I had a parent reach out to me the other day who lives on the peninsula but would like to rent an ADU in our community and wanted to know if that was okay. So I felt like it was probably necessary for us to define, residency assumes occupancy. You can only have one primary residence. But at this point, given the transition that we're in, I felt it was important to provide as much clarity and specificity as possible. So I have revised our policy and our regulation to reflect that.
What is the current standard? I mean, this is ADUs and anything, right? So it's the same thing of living in, add on to a garage or whatever.
Yeah.
Does a student?
Not that you can't live in one. I'm not saying that. But if you're renting one, you're using it as your address, you have to actually physically live there.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what the policy says.
Gotcha.
And this is pretty much in line with what like Pacific Grove has for theirs.
I would support that. If you just use the mailing address or storefront type thing, then that's not enough. Right. You should live there.
Correct.
So this means that there has to be a certain number of nights that they're staying in this location, and the majority of
the school nights in the school week.
So essentially Sunday through Thursday. Right.
And at least 3 nights.
And then there's a generic or specific policy. Trying to do this whole thing at once, right? All board policies are up for discussion. So on the 5125 and the caregiver's authorization affidavit, That's kind of a weird thing, right? Where you're trying to administer healthcare and
A caregiver affidavit can be done for a variety of reasons. If let's say, let's use an example given our current situation. Let's say Sarah doesn't live in the district, but her mom does. So in order for her daughter to continue to go to school, if she resides with her grandmother for at least 3 nights a week, and Sarah can affirm that through a caregiver's affidavit that says my daughter lives with her grandmother, then that's what would establish the residency for her. But it would have to be an approved caregiver affidavit that stays on record and be able to be obviously affirmed.
Gotcha. So one of the checklist items on that caregiver affidavit is, I have advised parents or other persons having legal custody of the minor of my intent to authorize medical care, and I have received no objection. So there's nothing on the application that says, yeah, the parent says that this is fine. Shouldn't we have something like that?
We should probably have a form on file. I'll have to check with Diana what our caregiver we haven't used caregiver affidavits a lot in our district historically. So it's probably time to update what we have so that it accurately reflects what we want it to reflect. So that may come to you next month.
Yeah, please do that. And we'd have to approve that because this is a capitalized statement.
Okay.
So they're referencing, I think, a specific document that it just
Well,
relies
that
on the
one might have
person
gotten by me.
applying, says it's saying.
5125?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave that with you.
You want to approve it without 51?
Do we want to pull that one till next
It's up
month?
to you.
Why don't we pull it so you can I'll leave this with you.
You don't have to leave it. I got it written down.
One question I had about the district residency one, just, I don't think it'd be a problem, but just to expand on it for a second, like for families with split households. And
Yes.
some that live, they might spend 1 week in district and then the next week with the other parent who lives in town or something
Right.
like that. And that's still,
So there might have to be
be-
some conversations with those families because the residency policy says that in a split household, the child attending the district needs to spend the majority of the nights every week with the parent who resides within district boundaries.
okay. So even if it's a split 50-50, 1 week on, 1 week off, they still have to work that somehow so that they're in district.
Correct.
Is there a way to write that so that it wouldn't have to be that way? I mean, now we're messing up with people's custody arrangements, aren't we?
Well, I think that there might be some case by case considerations that would have to be made. But I think, in talking with the attorney and in talking with another superintendent, especially now when we're in this transition period and there's a lot of activity in the district in regards to addresses, we need to be as specific as possible and probably a bit more restrictive at the outset to ensure that we're setting clear guidelines and ensuring that parents understand what the stipulations are. Otherwise, there's room for interpretation.
But if I don't know, I mean, if I'm in a divorced relationship and my husband lives in San Bernardino and I live in Salinas, and we have 50-50 custody, now I've got to let my kid stay with my husband more than 50-50 so that they can go to this school? Yes. I mean, now it seems like we're getting really into other people's business. I mean,
Can we write it as such that you?
I can write it however you want me to write it.
I don't know if it's ready. for
Basing it on
approval
what's out there,
tonight.
and I'm basing on the attorney's advice. But if you want me to write it a different way, that's up to you.
I mean, it may not even be an issue.
Well, I was going to say, I
The
would.
families I'm thinking about are past. They're in high school now, so it's moot. But it just
I would approve it tonight because and take it on a case by case basis to see if we have anything that comes up like that. But I think.
Well, did you say like half? You said they need to live basically
3 nights a week.
Because if you were on and off, let's say that you did 2 weeks, week on, off, mom, dad, out of a month. That's 10 days out of 20.
Yeah.
That's basically half. That's
the
you know.
part I was bringing up was like the way it's worded right now is minimum of 3 nights a week, but it works out the same. But like,
Yeah.
It's just like, is that going to be a problem? I don't know. Like if it's
60% of the school nights,
but
something like that. Then it's
I think we need to have a policy, but it probably needs a little wordsmithing. And really, the thing we're trying to avoid are people are saying, "Oh, I rented this ADU for $800 a month, and now make as a."
Well, and I think I feel like this one's specific to split households.
Yeah, I agree. But like for the basis of the policy, what you're trying to avoid is a storefront house, a place to receive mail, to allow. That's what we're.
Yeah,
trying to
and that's probably the most of what we're going to be dealing with.
You see what I'm saying? How do you prove it? Puts that as something that's not allowed.
So do you want to pull it and have me work on it and bring it back to you?
I think we need to.
Okay. I will communicate with you to get feedback on what you all believe to be necessary or what needs to be in it, and then I can work on it for next month.
I just,
now that we're deliberating,
I was concerned about that.
Okay.
Like it's not not the residing. It was just the week part because I know people who split every other week.
Sure.
And so maybe it's just a month or something like that. Like that half the month or whatever.
Okay.
Or.
Yeah.
So we'll pull. We'll bring 5111.1 and 5125 back for a second read.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. Tracy, did you get that?
I did. 51.
5111.1 and 5125.
There's no way to just do part of it, like all of it except for number 11, or is that like?
I will. We'll communicate.
Okay.
We'll communicate.
Because I want to give the families in the community as
Sure.
clear as possible as soon as
But
possible.
we have time, right? There's still
But
time.
there's people doing it right now.
Yeah.
There's people doing it.
Approving the board policies, pulling those those two.
But
if
this is what
we approve something after the fact.
it doesn't matter. Like if they're not living there, it doesn't. I mean, it's still kind of
Right,
apply to them.
right.
Yeah. And we can push out to them and see what we're looking at. Yeah. Okay. Right. So. Yeah, I forgot that.
Oh yeah, we're
Sorry.
5111.1. So we have
There's a lot.
So we need a motion to approve the board policy packet minus 5111.1 and 5120.
I'll make a motion to approve everything except 5111 and 5125.
I second.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Then the approval of consent agenda.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. And future meeting dates. We will be back for March and then back twice in April for strategic planning. And then our normal run of meetings. So we are now adjourned. Well, I get a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.